Okay.
Near, far, wherever you are.
Funny, you just sang that and we're live. Yeah, don't be confused by that. This is a Blade Runner hangout, not a Titanic one. We could well get to that at another point. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this Blade Runner duology reflection on both Blade Runner and Blade Runner 2049. I'm here with my friends Alan and Jack, and we are going to be, given the release of the new film, we're going to be talking about both Blade Runner movies. Yeah, also, in regards to the second movie, we will be going into spoilers, and the first movie, but I'm sure most people have seen the first movie by now. The second film, we will be going into spoilers, so if you haven't seen the movie, I would advise you to come back after you've seen the movie and watch this. Just go and see it. Just see what it's all about. It's great. Just go and watch it. What are you doing? Go! Go!
Let's go.
Go! Go! Yes, in the words of Caesar from Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. Okay. I'm gonna say ladies first and hand over to Jack.
Sorry, who are you talking about? I'm no lady.
Yeah. I'm a lady. Oh yeah, we just had a long conversation about gender politics. So
It's not from Little Britain. I'm a lady.
I'm a lady. Yeah. What do you?
Well, no, don't worry. My penis hasn't regenerated into a vagina yet. So.
In the universe of Blade Runner, I didn't know you could, do that kind of thing. That one blind.
Maybe Harriet Ford would do something about that.
Oh my god, I'm so hot.
Rachel Gosling. No,
Okay, right. Yeah. So, what do you think of the first Blade Runner movie?
I have to say, I think Blade Runner, the original film, I think it's a masterpiece. I'm going to be honest. The first couple times I watched this film, I didn't get it. Like, especially the first time, I just didn't understand what the film was about. But the more I've rewatched this film, the only version I've seen, by the way, is the final cut. The more I've just grown to appreciate this. And I think this is a film you need to watch multiple times. Chris Stuckman, the YouTube reviewer, reviewed this, and he said you need to watch this multiple times. And some other like YouTubers like Razor Fist has said you need to watch this a couple of times. But
Razor Fist.
Oh, he's Rageaholic Cinema. He's like he reviews like action films and like cult movies. Yeah. Anyway, as for Blade Runner itself, yeah, I bought the Final Cut DVD about a year ago. I think I watched it like last summer, and visually, I think this film, it's stunning. I mean, this is a stunning film visually. I mean, the matte paintings, the models. I mean, it just blows you away. The first time you watch this, it just blows you away. And the DVD is, I think, one of the best DVDs I've ever seen. I mean, I've upgraded to Blu-ray now, but watching the DVD when I first saw it, it was almost like watching a Blu-ray because I think it was from a 4K scan. But the original Blade Runner, I had the privilege of watching this. I had the privilege of watching this film at the Odyssey. In fact, hold on a minute. I'll show you my tickets. Pretty cool tickets. Just give me a sec.
And I had the privilege of being in the movie. Not that I could stand the horrible narration that I had to do. Anyhow, there was a page.
Yeah, I'm back. Yeah, so I'll just turn.
Rick Deckard. I hunt down replicants. Yeah, right, man.
I'm Harrison Ford. I'm an actor. I hunt down film projects. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm back, and I got my Blade Runner tickets here, so I'll just turn on the camera. If it'll work.
The camera.
The camera, yes. Yeah. Got them here, my 2 tickets for Blade Runner, the final cut. Me and my brother went to see this film.
Very cool.
Yeah.
You should get that framed.
Yeah. But anyway, I saw the film recently at the Odyssey. I paid like £13 to go see it. And seeing this film in the cinema, it was breathtaking. And recently watching it in the cinema, I have to say, I absolutely adore this film. I mean, before this, the last time I'd seen it was a few months ago, like in the summertime with my friend who wanted to see it because he hadn't seen it. But seeing this thing on the big screen, I think you need to see this film on the big screen. It's one of those films that deserves to be on the big screen.
Not anymore.
Yeah. But I mean, as for the film itself, I just think it's great. The story, I think, I mean, I know Alan said in his review, he said what story, but I have to disagree. I have to disagree. I think the story here for the original, Blade Runner is quite, I think it's quite good. I mean, yes, it is basic, but I think the story is good.
Well, it's a better story than the Star Wars prequels.
Yeah, I'll give it that. I'll give it that.
Well,
it's not from the Lucas School of Filmmaking.
Yeah.
Fuck you! No, joking.
Oh no, George! I mean, all this.
I mean, what's interesting about the original film is that it had narration. Harrison Ford narrated it, and the narration was terrible. Ridley Scott cut that out for the final cut. But as for the film itself, I think, yes, it is visually stunning. The whole look of like Los Angeles in the 2019 is really great. But what I really love about this film is like what Ollie said in his review. It's like an old film noir. It's like the Maltese Falcon with Humphrey Bogart. It's like you've got this private detective. I mean, in this case, he's sort of this private investigator who hunts down replicants, kills them. And I think, maybe you and Alan sort of missed the point kind of this movie. It's not just about him going and killing replicants. The whole story of this is that...
I can't speak. I think he got the point.
Well, I mean, Alan didn't say that really in his review, but I mean, I think...
I'm sorry, I only said that to reference Thunderball.
All right, yeah. No, but I mean, the whole story really of the movie, it was based on a novel by Philip K. Dick called Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep? And the story of this film, I think it's interesting because even though it is a basic story, it's just, these bunch of replicants who escape and he has to track down and murder them. It's really about the human condition, and it's about Deckard killing all these replicants and whether he has the right to do so. I mean, that's what I think is great about this film, is that the fact that he's killing all these replicants, but, does he really have that right? Does he have the right to take away their life? I mean, yes, they are replicants, but they can think, they can feel. Like, is he really doing the right thing? And that's what I really like about this. That's what I really like about this film. I think Harrison Ford as Deckard is great. I'd actually say this is one of his best performances. You can see Deckard is a really sort of cold, emotionally shut off character, and
a bit like Harrison Ford.
Yeah, well, I guess you could say that. Yeah, I mean, he does. I mean, he's just the guy. He's kind of that cynical investigator, like Humphrey Bogart in the Maltese Falcon, like Sam Spade in the Maltese Falcon, which I reviewed recently on my channel. And I just think Ridley Scott. What's interesting, I think, as well about this film is the fact that the replicants themselves, I think them being human is really interesting because, mostly in sci-fi films, replicants or androids are just robots. They're like human skin on the top, like the Terminator, but like underneath they're metal. What's interesting about the replicants is they're all flesh and bone and blood, and that's what's really interesting about the replicants. I will say Ridley Scott does a great job.
Yeah, but then also you could argue that's the question the film raises, like, are they more human or are they more machine? And I think that's kind of the best thing. Like, that's the crucial dilemma that Ridley Scott and filmmakers are trying to say, like, what is it to be human? What is it to be a machine?
Yeah.
What's the distinction? And yeah, that's what's intriguing about it. I'll give it that.
Yeah, that's what I find really interesting. I mean, this film, I guess you could say, in terms of conventional films, it is slow, but I really don't mind that. I mean, the first time I watched it, the first time I watched it, I found it quite slow. And I was kind of like Ollie in terms of that, because I know this is Ollie's only seen it once. But I mean, the first time I watched it, I found it slow, but that's what I enjoy about it, because most modern action films like Star Wars, I mean, I'm not bashing Star Wars, but films...
Star Wars, nothing but Star Wars.
Oh, yeah, but we're talking about Blade Runner! But I mean, what I like about this film, unlike most conventional action films in Star Wars, is that it takes its time, and I think in terms of this, it works, because I think I think if you just had all action,
I guess what you could also say is it gives the fangirls a longer amount of time to look at Harrison Ford. So, yeah.
Well, yeah,
Yeah,
but I mean, yeah, but I mean, but that's what I like about this film. What I like about it is the fact that it is slow. It is a slow burn, but in my opinion, it pays off. I mean, the same way people say 2001: A Space Odyssey is slow, or Star Trek: The Motion Picture is slow. I mean, some people will probably argue against that for Star Trek: The Motion Picture. Yeah, I know, but I mean, it's slow in the sense of it's an old-fashioned film, and that's what I like about it. That it's going back to this sort of noir feel of the Maltese Falcon and Detour and all these sort of old classic noir films like The Third Man and stuff like that. And what's great about it is the fact that there is hardly any action, and I think if there was tons of action in this film, then it wouldn't have been as good. Like I said, I think the replicants are also interesting themselves. Like when you have that test where they put the magnifying glass to the eye of the replicant, and you see that it turns orange, and they're asking him questions like, "What's a tortoise?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, I don't know what that is." He's like, "It's a turtle," and he kills him. But I mean, what I like is the characters as well. I think the characters here are really good. I mean, I have to disagree with you, Ollie. I know you say you don't really like Roy as a villain, but I think Rutger Hauer, I think he's great. He really is like threatening to me. I mean, he doesn't raise his voice. He's not kind of, he doesn't go completely nuts. Well, apart from the ending.
Yeah.
I mean, but that's what I like about him. That's what I like about him as Roy, and that's the whole question of the film. Alan, like, that's why I have to completely disagree with what Alan says when he says what story, because it's not just about it's not just about Deckard having to take down the replicants. It's about the fact, and Ridley Scott says this, and Philip K. Dick says this on the commentary and documentaries about it. It's about the fact that Deckard has become dehumanized, and the whole point of that movie is he's a dehumanized human who's killing these replicants. And the question is, if these replicants can think, if these replicants can, think like us, they can talk like us. They're almost like us in a lot of ways, except that they're not, they're not born. Should we have the right to kill them? And that's what Deckard's sort of conflicting throughout the whole film. Like that scene where, he meets Rachel and, he finds out she's a replicant and she doesn't believe she's a replicant. And he's like, oh yeah, sure, they're your memories. Sure, go home, kids. Like he's basically saying that, he doesn't care, and, he despises replicants. That's what's interesting about Deckard is as a character, he completely despises them. And like Philip K. Dick said, like, he's just hunting down these replicants. He's just killing these people left, right, and center, and he doesn't give a blink of an eye towards it. He doesn't really care. And what's interesting about the film is that he eventually does fall in love with a replicant. He falls in love with Rachel, and we see that he eventually comes to care about replicants. And that's what I think is really great about this film, is the fact that it's not just the story of a guy who has to kill these replicants. It's the fact that he's this, basically, you could say, murderer. He's this, he's this badge for hire murderer who's just killing these people, killing these replicants. And that's the main sort of theme of the story that Ridley Scott said in the documentaries, and Philip K. Dick and all the original author of the book has like pointed out, is the fact that he's just this guy going through life. He doesn't give a shit. He lives on his own in his apartment, and he's become essentially cut off from the rest of the world. He's cut off from his emotions, and he doesn't care if they're replicants. Like, I think there's some really great scene where he goes into that woman's like apartment, and she's like this dancer, like this exotic dancer, and like he just hunts her down and he just shoots her in cold blood, and it's a great visual, like where he just shoots her through the window panes. He just kills her stone dead. And and this woman, like this replicant, she was doing nothing. She wasn't a harm to anybody. She wasn't harming anybody. She was just she was just an exotic dancer, making a living. And then he comes in and he kills her in cold blood. And I think I just think the characters here are just really great. Like Rachel, Sean Young is just gorgeous in this film, and she's a great character as Rachel, because you see that you know, she doesn't believe she's a replicant, you know, and she has all these memories, but, you know, he says, oh, there's somebody else's. And you see that, you know, at first Harrison Ford doesn't care about her, but he slowly begins to sort of, you know, fall in love with her. And that's what's interesting about the film, is that, you know, the thing he despises, he comes to love it in the end. He you know, that's what happens in the end, that he falls in love with the very thing that he despises, that he's sent to, you know, shoot and hunt down, you know. And I mean, and basically you know, I mean, he should have killed her because she's a replicant, but he doesn't. But I mean, I think the other visuals in the film are great, like when they like the whole city itself. I mean, I think, you know, there's so many films that have been inspired by Blade Runner, so many films that have copied this film years after. You know, like I think even to a lesser extent the Star Wars prequels, like when you see the backgrounds of Coruscant and all that, you see all the flying cars at night, you can obviously tell that George Lucas was inspired by Blade Runner. And I mean, I think, you know, just the whole look of this film, I would say it's one of the most visually stunning sci-fi films of all time.
It is a pretty sexy looking film. I'll give it that.
Yeah, and that's and like I said, yeah, you can definitely see that it inspired all these other films, you know, before and after it. Well, not before. Well, it inspired all these films after it, and like I said, that, you know, that you can definitely tell George Lucas was inspired a bit by Blade Runner visually. If you look at Coruscant at nighttime, you know, like the cars flying by. Yeah. So, you know, and you know, I just think that in terms of that, it's great. But like I said, I'm going to defend the story because I think the story is good, and I think Rutger Hauer as a villain is just really interesting because basically the replicants only have 4 years of life. Like, I mean, it's interesting because we're watching it in the year 2017. It's all supposed to be set around this time, kind of like Back to the Future Part 2, but they said it's 2015. Yeah.
Well, they tried. I mean, they didn't get it exactly right, but, you know, we have more technology.
Yeah, but I mean, I just think Rutger Hauer as Roy is really interesting because he's this psychopath. You know, he's escaped and he's on the run with all these other replicants. But what's really interesting about the story is he just wants more life. He just wants to live longer, and that's what I like about the story. It's all about what is
feeling the life.
No, yeah, but I mean, but that's what's interesting about the story is the fact that he just, like Roy, just wants to live longer. He just wants to have a chance at life, and that's what I like about this film, and that's why I think the story is actually quite strong. I mean, on the surface, when you first watch it, I think a lot of these things can just go over your head. I mean, it did for me the first time. But once I rewatched it and I listened to the documentaries and listened to the commentaries and Ridley Scott explaining it and the original author explaining it, I think it's a brilliant story because the fact that this guy is just murdering all these people and he doesn't give a shit, and then finally he loves the thing that he despises. He loves Rachel. That's what's interesting. He
Rachel. Rachel.
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, and I just think all the other performances are really great as well, like Rutger Hauer and Sean Young, and also I think the head of the corporation, the Tyrell Corporation, he does a really good job. I mean, there's a comedy called Red Dwarf that completely just parodied this film, and it was called Red Dwarf Back to Earth. It came out about 2009. And actually Red Dwarf Series 12 is on at the moment. But you know, I mean, I just think as well, like the other characters, like you've got the prostitute character, like when you first find her, and then that guy, she runs away from that guy that who builds all this sort of like technology, and she starts to like him because he, you know, even though he knows that she's a replicant, he doesn't care. His only friends are robots anyway. Like he builds all these robots in his house. And I find that interesting because you see that not all these people like not everybody discriminates against these replicants. They don't discriminate against them. You know, they don't see them as freaks. They don't see them as like these like things that should be retired, as they said. Like they don't kill them, they retire them. You know, which I find really interesting. And I just think you know, that scene like where you see he's sort of in the same predicament as them, like he is aging cells, makes his, you know, it makes him age faster, and you see that that they're sort of in the same situation and they just want more life. And I think the finale of the film is great as well, like when he comes to Tyrell and
The haunted house, huh?
Yeah, well, yeah. He arrives there, Tyrell's corporation, and he talks to him, and he says, "Oh, Father, I want like a more chance at life. You know, how long have I got?" It's like 4 years. He's like, "Is there anything to reverse this? Is there anything to do that?" And then he just, he grabs his skull, just like, kills him like that. He presses into his eyeballs, whatever. I mean, it's quite graphic, but it's. I just think it's no, but I mean, I think it's. Yeah, but I mean, I think it's a great scene because you see that Roy's just desperate to cling on to life. He's desperate to experience.
Well, moving on.
Yeah, well, yeah. Well, this isn't Star Trek.
Whoa.
Yeah, I mean, Christopher Lloyd isn't in this one, or William Shatner.
The Search for Cock. Sorry, Spock.
Yeah.
That's what they should call the first episode of Doctor Who.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Sean Young, I guess, is in the Search for Cock in this Harrison Ford's. But yeah, I mean, I can understand why some people aren't as big as fan as this. I just think, yeah, I can understand the slow pace and I think Ollie when you went, and I can understand why Ollie doesn't really didn't really get it the first time, or I can understand why you and Alan sort of.
I mean, Jack, you said that. Watching the second film did make me appreciate this one a bit more. But as I said to you before, I am going to rewatch the first one, and if I happen to like it more, I will re-review it, and hopefully I'll pick up on some of the things that you've said.
Yeah.
As it stands right now, I just think it's okay.
Yeah,
it's okay. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean that's fair enough. I mean, I can understand. Like I said, I can understand why you and I can understand why Alan says there's no story. I can understand why he says that, because I mean, the first time I watched it, I didn't get it. But if you watch the film back and you listen to what Ridley Scott has to say and what the original author Philip K. Dick has to say, it is really a great story, in my opinion. I mean, on the base surface level, it's he's just going to kill these replicants.
The clear theme here. Sorry to interrupt you. The clear theme is identity. I think that's what, for me anyway, in this story, your identity and what you do with it. People question who they are, what they do, how they cope with it, how society treats them. I think it's a very interesting concept, judging from what you've said anyway. Would you agree?
Well, yeah, I would agree that it's about identity. What does it mean to be human? What does it mean to be a replicant? And are they one and the same thing? And that's what I like about it, is the fact that it's about morality, and it's about, it's like Deckard is just this ruthless bastard who's just going to kill all these replicants, and he doesn't care.
Deckard.
Yeah, Deckard, yeah. I mean, yeah, yeah. No, but that's what I find interesting about the story, is the fact that Deckard is just this ruthless guy who's taken down all these replicants, and he doesn't care. And in the end, he falls in love with Rachel, like Sean Young, and when they're in the apartment together, and he's like, "Oh, kiss me, say that you love me," all this, and I mean, and
kind of forces himself on her. And then, funnily enough, I never realized how deep their connection was until the second film, which we'll get to later.
Yeah, but I mean, but that's what I like about it, is the fact that Deckard hates replicants, and he just hates them, and he retires them, and he doesn't care about them. And then suddenly,
no, there is a potential thing that he might be one.
Yeah, and I was going to get to that in a minute. Yeah, but like I said, that's what I think is the main theme of the story, is that the fact that a guy who's become dehumanized sort of regains his humanity, because these replicants, they are all intents and purposes, apart from being born, they are essentially almost human, because they can think, they can feel, and he doesn't care. Like I said, that scene where he just shoots that exotic dancer down, she was no threat to society, she was doing nothing, and he just kills her anyway. That scene where she's running and he shoots her through the windows of the shop, and I mean, that's what's interesting, is that she's just this exotic dancer, she is no threat to society, and he just comes in and he kills her, stone dead. And that's what I like about the film, is that throughout the film he's just killing these replicants,
Well,
He
not that we're trying to say killing women stone dead is a good thing. Although
well,
there's the Doctor
no one
Who,
is.
that's another story.
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, and I just think that that's really interesting. But I mean, going on to the ending, and yeah, and what's also interesting about this
Well,
film
you
is,
mean the ending for the final cut?
well, yeah, the final cut, because I mean, I think that's what we're all going to be talking about since I have the DVD of it. I think Alan watched the final cut or the director's cut, and you watched the final cut. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, but what is interesting about this film as well is the fact that Deckard himself is possibly, or I'd say most likely for me anyway, is a replicant because we see that he has a vision of a unicorn in his dreams, and then that guy he's making the origami turns out to be a unicorn, and they made an
That's kind of cute when you think about it.
Yeah, I mean, is that a clue for you to review My Little Pony?
Oh, no, actually, I find it more of a clue to the fact that he might be human. It just seems like a rather human dream to have, like fantasizing about unicorns. It's a very human emotion. Well, not emotion, a human action to just fantasize or dream up about something.
Well, yeah.
I think it's more human, but that's just my opinion.
Well,
Personally.
I think personally it makes him a replicant because the book is called Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep? And the fact that throughout the movie this guy's making origami and it turns out at the end he has an origami of a unicorn and he has the dream of the unicorn. So I think and Ridley Scott said in the documentary that Mark Kermode did, like Mark Kermode said, "Oh, what does the unicorn mean?" When Ridley Scott said that means he's a replicant. And there is actually an addition. I don't know if you guys picked this up, but there is an addition in the final cut where when Harrison Ford as Deckard is talking to Rachel, it's just a really small, like blink and you'll miss it thing, but he's in the shadows. And if you look, his eyes are orange just briefly there. His eyes turn orange. So that's another.
Is this part of the ending?
It's in the final cut. If you search it up, just type in Deckard replicant or something, Blade Runner, just type in Blade Runner orange eyes or something like that. It'll come up. It's a blink and you'll miss it moment. It is a blink and you'll miss it.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Why do you think Ridley Scott and Denis Villeneuve have chosen not to reveal Deckard's true identity? I think it's good that they haven't. He's a mysterious character, and I think it works. I mean, what do you think?
I think it creates mystery, but not only that, but in the original book, Deckard was a human, and it was a late addition to the script when they were writing the film that Blade Runner was a replicant. It actually came about by accident. I think Hampton Fancher and David Webb Peebles, who also wrote Unforgiven, and Clint Eastwood. Apparently when they were writing the script for Blade Runner, they were reading the book and they misinterpreted it, and they thought they thought that Deckard was a replicant, and Ridley Scott loved that idea. So in the original book, he's not a replicant; he's a human. But in the film, they say he's a replicant. But I think what they've done is good because they haven't revealed whether he really truly is a replicant. Because in the original book, he never was a replicant, and also it leaves it open to interpretation. Because I've seen like I said, this guy, the Rageaholic Cinema, when he was reviewing the film, because that's actually his favorite film of all time. When he was talking about the new Blade Runner, he was saying that it's about a human who becomes dehumanized and then he regains his humanity. So for a lot of people, and in the original cut, they didn't have the orange eyes. And Harrison Ford always thought that he was a human. Harrison Ford always thought that Deckard was a human.
Yeah, well, we know Harrison Ford's a human.
Yeah, but he always thought Deckard was a human. So I mean, I think the reason they haven't answered that is because like I said, in the original book, Deckard's a human, and not only that, but it's just to leave it open to your interpretation. Like you can interpret whether it's a replicant or not. So yeah, it's really what you like. It's either do you think he's a replicant or a human.
It's up to you to decide.
Yeah, but I mean, I
think to interrupt, Alan. What would you say? What do you think he is?
Well, I was gonna. Well, I guess if we're more or less talking about these two films back to back, I was going to try to hold off on this until we get to the second movie. But You know, it's always been a controversy whether or not Deckard is a replicant, and Ridley Scott says he's a replicant, but I think Harrison Ford says that no, he's not a replicant. Judging by the evidence before me as to what happens in the second movie and what's revealed in the second movie, and the fact that Deckard, we see an older Deckard who has obviously grown, 30 years older. It appears to me that Deckard is human. That's my judgment call, that Deckard is human, and not replicant.
I can see that.
All I've made about the character.
Yeah, I know what you're saying about that, but they said at the end of in the original narration at the end of the first Blade Runner, in the original cut, apparently Deckard says, "Oh, Rachel, Tyrell told me before he died that Rachel had no expiry date, so replicants can technically age. It's only if you put an expiry date on them."
I mean, because Rachel's a replicant, isn't she? Yeah.
Actually,
yes, Rachel's a replicant. Yes.
Yes,
definitely.
Yeah. Actually, Harrison Ford said it he said about Deckard being a replicant. Actually, I'll get the thing up here. It's only like a brief clip, but he just it's like 2 minutes. Like he says, like he's saying is Deckard the replicant. But I mean, Harrison Ford, I think during the making, I mean, that's what's interesting about the film as well. He didn't have the best of relationships with Ridley Scott. Like he said, that when he was making that film, like he found Ridley Scott to be really hard to work with, and that they were actually shooting it on the back lot of Warner Brothers, and it's always like freezing. So I think like their time is, I think they've mended as time's gone on, but but I mean, as for Deckard, I mean, Harrison Ford always debated it, but I mean, the funny thing is, like, I mean, if he is or he isn't, like, it doesn't really.
Yeah, no, exactly. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. I was going to say, I actually forgot.
I know it's a hard subject. I mean, there's arguments for and against, but judging by what happens in the second movie, it was my personal judgment that he's human. That's what I call it.
But then again, they never said that replicants couldn't do so they couldn't.
Yeah, and like I said, if you watch the original narration for of the original cut, Harrison Ford says in that, like the narration by Harrison Ford said, "Oh, Tyrell gave me like a guarantee that Rachel didn't have any expiry date on her." So
saying all this, it's such a shame that Stephen Moffat isn't a replicant. If only he had an expiry date, Doctor Who would have been ended by now.
I know. I agree. Yeah. I agree.
You missed that one, Ridley. You missed that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe he is a replicant. Maybe his expiry date hasn't come yet.
Villenueve is a replicant of him. Otherwise, the Doctor would still be a man.
Yeah.
Oh.
But that's another ball game. Well, it's not a ball game anymore. Anyway, it's another story for another hangout.
Yeah.
Sorry, Jack. I'll let you wrap up.
Yeah. Sorry, I lost my train of thought there. Yeah, we were talking about.
We're talking about if Deckard was human, or is he human or is he replicant? Yeah. So.
Yeah. No, I'm back. No, we were talking about Blade Runner. Yeah. I mean, Harrison Ford actually said on YouTube. I was trying to find a clip there actually to show you. It was only like a 2-minute clip, but he said like throughout the film to Ridley Scott that he didn't think he was a replicant, that Deckard wasn't a replicant. But then at the end of that clip, he says, "Oh, I always, denied that Deckard was a replicant, like a replicant would." So, he was kind of teasing that. But I mean, yeah, we'll get on to whether Deckard Decker's replicant a bit more in the second film. But as for me, I think he is a replicant because, like I said, in the original cut, the end narration, like he says, "Oh, Rachel doesn't have an expiry date. Tyrell gave me that guarantee." But I mean, as for the ending of the film, I think the ending is great. Like where he, he's like Rutger Hauer's always trying to, he's trying to get another chance. He just wants more life, and he finds out that he can't reverse it, so he kills his creator.
I will agree with you about the ending, and the speech is very moving.
Yeah, and I think the final action scene is great. Like where we see. He goes in and he kills her girlfriend. She starts like spazzing out on the floor, like going completely crazy, and he like shoots her.
Not Pris.
Yeah, Pris. Yeah, Pris. I think the ending action scene is great. Like he just he shoots her dead, and then he goes to confront Roy, and Roy, like he's completely distraught over her dead, and like over her death, and like he bursts through the wall, and like he snaps his fingers. He's like this is for Pris, and this is for my creator or something like that, and he gives him back the gun. And I just think the ending fight is just great. Like we see, what was it? Roy just basically, he goes completely nuts. Like he strips down to his boxers, and yeah, like something to show for the ladies. Basically he goes nuts. Like he's sort of distraught, and like we see. I mean, I think there's that great scene like where we see like he starts howling like a wolf, and he's like, I see you, and then like and you have that great moment like where he's just looking at his arm, and like it starts to go full with like it starts to go white, like the white blood vessels, and he's like no, not now, and he like, I mean, it's quite a like graphic moment, but like he gets the nail and he puts it through his arm so that his arm will be okay. I think that's great, and just that final like confrontation on the rooftop where it's raining, and we see like Harrison Ford runs away from Roy, and then he jumps, and then Roy, just about as Deckard's about to fall to his death, like Roy grabs him and saves his life. And yeah, that ending speech is just brilliant. And actually, what's funny about that is Rutger Hauer actually wrote that speech. Like apparently he wrote that speech, and Ridley Scott, like when he heard it, just loved it so much that he put it in the film. And it's a great speech. Like he's like, oh, I've seen things you wouldn't believe. Vessels off attack ships. He's like and stars like the vessels being destroyed off the stars of Orion, and he's like all these memories will fade like tears and rain, and I think that's a beautiful moment. That's so great. That's beautiful, and it just goes to show that that in the end that Roy, even though he was dying, he cared about life. He cared about human life. And you see that basically after all this time, even though he's killed all these people, just as he's dying, he accepts that he's going to die, and he saves Deckard's life. And I think it's really powerful. It's really emotional because you see the fact that throughout this film, Deckard's just been killing these people, been killing these replicants, and he doesn't care. But like in that moment, you sort of see that he does care, and I think that's just I just think that's brilliant, and just so great, and like 0 out of 10.
Harrison Ford cares, yay!
yeah, because I mean that's the thing. Like you think he's kind of bored throughout the movie, like, but you can just tell he's just kind of this cynical.
Well, the thing about Harrison Ford is in some of his interviews, he always seems kind of grumpy. He seems.
I will say though, if you
better at it now.
Sorry.
Now that he's old. Well, he seems more humorous in interviews now. Now that he's older, I think he's a little bit happier and a little more jovial in the interviews he does now. Than he
he's
ever
never going to be
before.
as jovial as Lazenby.
What? We got the brandy.
But I mean, he's funnier. I mean, he's very funny if you interview him now. So
actually, yeah. Talking about that, if you've seen the interviews for Blade Runner 2049, that's hilarious. Him and Ryan Gosling are just laughing about nothing for like 5 minutes. It's like, sorry, could we reschedule this interview? Like,
there was a similar interview for The Great Gatsby when Tobey Maguire and Carey Mulligan just cracked up laughing and they couldn't stop laughing. It was so funny.
Yeah.
I mean, Tobey Maguire's laugh is it's great. Anyway, sorry, Jack. Sorry.
Yeah, what was it? Elijah Wood. His laughing. It's insane.
Yeah.
Like, no, but I mean, yeah.
Hello.
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, Jack, can you just explain to me one?
What were we gonna say?
In that final action scene with Roy and
What the hell? Why is there an echo?
I don't know. Where's it coming from?
I think it was coming from Alan.
Okay, it seems okay now.
Oh yeah, it's gone. Oh, it's gone now. Right.
Okay. Yeah, just one thing though. In that final action scene with Deckard and Roy, why does Roy put the nail through his hand? I mean, it said that was kind of like a nod to Jesus and the crucifixion kind of thing when he puts the nail through his hand. But why did he actually do it? I didn't understand why.
He did it because he was dying and the white blood vessels were infesting his hands, so his hands were going to go septic and fall off and he was going to die. So that's why I put the nail through, so we can get the red blood cells to flow there. If you see what I mean. Yeah.
Because his blood flow was slowing down, that's why?
Yeah, his arm was going white. He was dying, so he needed to put his blood flow was going down, so he needed to put the nail through so we could get the red blood cells to go there. So, you know, his arm wouldn't fall off.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. I never understood.
But I mean, this is, yeah.
Thank you.
But I just want to show you this briefly. Like, this is the voiceover that they put in at the end of Roy's speech, which is you have it here.
I don't know why he saved my life. Maybe in those last moments he loved life more than he ever had before.
I'm Harrison Ford, and I'm so not interested in doing this voiceover.
I'm fucking bored. I want a paycheck already. Fuck this shit.
Can I fucking go home? Yeah.
What do I do?
I want to do Star Wars again.
Yeah, I mean, Harrison Ford hated the voiceover.
Yeah, he didn't hide it. He didn't hide it at all, how much he hated it.
Yeah.
Jeff had been there
and
let her live. 4 years, he figured. He was wrong. No termination date. I didn't know how long we'd have together. Who does?
Go back there, Alan. Listen to what he said.
And let her live.
Yeah, what he says here about
he was wrong. Tyra told me Rachel, anybody's life.
Oh, sorry, I went back there.
My life.
Yeah, he sounds anybody's
All I
life.
wanted were the same answers the rest of us want. Where do I come from? Where am I going?
Where's my paycheck?
Yeah. Really, where's my paycheck? Yeah, I'm getting it.
Yeah, but you listen to this bit of narration here.
And let her live. 4 years, he figured. He was wrong. Tyrella told me Rachel was special.
Rachel was special.
Yeah.
No, we have together.
He said no termination date.
Who does?
Yeah, but I mean, I think you get the point. And Harrison Ford hated that narration, but I think maybe.
I mean, look at that face. He looks so angry.
Yeah, but I mean, I think maybe if you watched it with the narration, it kind of spoils it doesn't I don't think the film works as well with the narration, but I think you get more of the themes of the movie if you watch it. I think you get more of the themes of the movie if you watch it with the narration. But anyway, going back to the film itself, I think that that ending speech is great, and I think when you see him, he goes back to get Rachel because he loves her, and then he finds the origami, and and then it cuts to black. Like he's like, and the guy says, oh, it's pity, she's not gonna live, but then again, who does? And then it cuts to black, and then you have the Evangelist theme. And yeah, I forgot to mention the Evangelist theme. My God, I love the Evangelist theme. It blows you out of the world. The do 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 Like, I just think that's great. But I mean, yeah. But I mean, yeah. And as for Blade Runner, I mean, I love this film. Like, it took me a lot of.
I never would have guessed.
Oh yeah, I hate it. Yeah, 0 out of 10. Minus a billion.
Minus one.
Yeah, but I mean, yeah, I mean, it took me a long time to sort of appreciate it, and you have to sort of watch it back and watch the documentaries, and you have to listen to what Ridley Scott and stuff said. Like, and I think maybe if you guys watch with the voiceover, maybe it would have made more sense for you. But I mean, as for me,
laugh at the voiceover.
But yeah, I mean, the voiceover is terrible. That's why they. Yeah, that's why they cut it out of the film. But I mean, maybe you guys would get the messages more of the film if you originally watched it with the voiceover. But I think the voiceover, yeah, it's awful. So, but yeah, Blade Runner, I think it's great, especially the final cut. I'd urge everybody to watch the final cut. And I think this, like Chris Tuckman said, this is a film you need to watch multiple times to sort of understand it. And you know, over the times that I've watched it, and especially seeing it on the big screen, you know, for the one and only time probably, I just come to appreciate this film a whole lot more. And I'm going to give it a 10 out of 10. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Now, where's my paycheck? Right now,
I don't know why you saved my life, Ollie.
Right now, I'm going to shut Rachel up and hand the microphone over to Alan to give his opinions on this movie.
Well, thank you, Ollie. Thank you.
You're welcome. Now pay me.
So we're going to talk about Blade Runner, the first movie from 1980.
Wait, Alan, are you Humphrey Bogart now or Harrison Ford? Because you sound like Humphrey Bogart.
Oh, really, sweetheart? Oh, no, this is my Humphrey Bogart, sweetheart. Yeah.
Business.
Well, we'll always have Paris. Yeah.
Oh, a wise guy, eh?
The stuff that dreams are made of.
Yeah. I was trying to do my Harrison Ford. This is the closest I can do to Harrison Ford. You know,
that's pretty good.
Yeah. Thank you. But okay, let's get serious for a moment. Let's talk about the original Blade Runner. I guess of the three of us, I'm kind of in the middle. I do like this movie. I do like it a lot. And you know something? I think Jack is certainly right about one thing. This particular movie is definitely what they call a grower. That, you know, the first time you see it, it may not actually hit you completely over the head with how good it is. It's definitely a movie that you do need to look at more than once, I think, to fully appreciate it. And I will also agree with Ollie that because of the second movie, Blade Runner 2049, it gives me an extra appreciation for the first film.
Yeah. I will touch on this at the very end, but which one do you prefer out of the two?
If I have to say which one I like the best, I'm going to go with the second movie.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Actually, if I were to interject, just to sort of wrap up my thoughts, I prefer the first one. I'm going to be honest. Yeah. Well, fuck you! I hate it!
Oh, yeah. How dare you like the first movie better?
You don't know what this is, sea doll.
How dare you? No.
Will you stop sucking Ridley Scott's cock?
Yeah. Have you got the Maltese Falcon? Have you? Yeah.
Because my beautiful narration. I mean,
it ain't worth a hill of beans.
We need to get out. We need to get Humphrey Bogart and Harrison Ford here.
Okay. Come on, fight me. I'm ready. Take a swing.
You need to stop playing a game, see?
Yeah.
I love you. I know.
Okay. So
you take this with you.
Anyway, but you know yeah. Okay. Blade Runner, guys. Blade Runner. So getting back to the first Blade Runner, I mean, I think it is true what some people say that it's a movie you need to watch it more than once to fully appreciate it. I mean, after you've seen it maybe 2 or 3 times, I think you'll have a much better opinion of it, or you'll have a much clearer opinion, because it's definitely a grower movie. And I mean, there are other movies like that I've come to appreciate. I guess another
not Titanic.
Well, like Titanic, I can only appreciate the technical side of Titanic. That's the only part of the film that I do admire.
Welcome to the George Lucas School of Filmmaking.
Yeah, really. Yeah, I still say James Cameron wrote a shitty screenplay for that film. Shitty. Shame on him. And it still won for Best Picture. Bullshit.
Yeah,
11 Oscars.
Bullshit. But anyway,
There's 11 Fan Girls in the Academy that year.
yeah,
I mean, this is, 11 Oscars when something like What Dreams May Come maybe probably deserve those for you, Alan, and Raging Bull for me deserve those, and like, yeah.
I mean, sure. I mean, the technical Oscars were well deserved, but I mean, for Best Picture, Cameron for Best Director. I mean, please.
Yeah.
I mean, did Blade Runner win?
Sorry, Harry. I'm really sorry about this. I have to agree with Alan. I mean, 11 Oscars.
Yeah. But okay, Blade Runner, guys. Blade Runner. The original Blade Runner is definitely a grower movie that you do need to watch it more than once to appreciate it. And there are other movies like that. Like a perfect example for me would be 2001: A Space Odyssey, because like a lot of other people, that movie definitely befuddled me the very first time I watched it. I was like, what's going on here? What's that big black rectangle thing that makes noise? What's happening here? And, there was a part of me that was kind of bored by the movie because it's not really a shoot-'em-upper. In fact, it's not a shoot-'em-upper at all. It's very much sci-fi for the mind. And it's slow.
And it also wasn't a sex-'em-upper as well.
Right, exactly. And it's slow, and it takes its time, and it's been said that the most interesting character in the movie is the HAL 9000 computer, but he's more interesting than the human characters. And that's a valid argument, I think. But there was something about 2001 that made me want to go back to it and watch it. There was something about it that intrigued me. They said, like I said, let me give this movie another chance because there's just something about it that I do think is intriguing. And over time, I watched it more. I rented it a few more times at the video rental store, and I eventually came to appreciate the film. I finally bought it on DVD, and I've done my homework about the film now, about what it all means. So I know now what it all means. And when I watch 2001: A Space Odyssey now, I mean, I just love it. And it is my favorite sci-fi movie of all time. I did have the pleasure of seeing it on the big screen because they did give it a theatrical re-release in 2001, which was appropriate. And it blew my mind. It really, really blew my mind. So I can relate when people talk about Blade Runner that, it's a movie you got to see it more than once to fully appreciate it and have a full, clear opinion of it, because you may not get it on the first viewing, and I get that. So Blade Runner, I've only seen the movie twice. I rented it years ago, and I saw the original version of the movie that had Harrison Ford's boring as fuck narration on it. I'm so not interested in being here in this recording studio. Please give me my paycheck.
Yeah, dang she.
I mean, my God, he's not even trying to cover up that he hates doing this narration.
It's like he recorded that when he was frozen in carbonite.
Yeah.
I mean, what's interesting to note about that original film is Ridley Scott didn't have any control over it. The studios took it off him and put that narration over it, and Harrison Ford hated it. I mean, let's be honest, if he's delivering lines like, I don't know why he saved my life.
I'm waiting at a bus stop to go to this place to get from point A to point B. Oh my fucking God, it's so slow. It's taking time. This is what I'm doing. But fuck it. This is what they want.
Yeah, fine. Okay.
You know what, Jack? It reminds me of the Jack, this is gonna shock you. It reminds me of the two emoji parents from the Emoji Movie.
All the mad emojis. Hello, Jim.
Yeah. Harrison Ford used the meh approach to his voiceover. He definitely had a meh expression when he was in the recording studio that day. Yeah, fine. But anyway, so I saw the original version with Harrison Ford's dull, boring narration over it, and then many years went by, and in anticipation for the new movie, Blade Runner 2049, I did do a online streaming rental of the original movie, and overall I really enjoyed it. And this is the final cut version where Ford's narration is removed, and Ridley Scott, I think,
Thank you
added in
very
that
much.
extra. Yes, thank you. That was a good thing to do. He threw in, I think, the extra scene where we see the unicorn, and he also touched up some of the visual effects on the movie. And looking at the film a second time, I mean, yeah, I liked it. I didn't love it, but I certainly liked it. I liked it very much. And now I'm happy to say, now that I've seen Blade Runner 2049 twice, went to see it a second time and thoroughly enjoyed it. I finally bought the original Blade Runner on DVD, so I finally got a proper. Yeah, so I have a proper DVD copy of Blade Runner. It's certainly good. I mean, for me, the star of the movie really is the visual effects and the whole art direction and cinematography. And
Take that, George Lucas.
Yeah, it's really phenomenal stuff to look at, and the fact that it was made back in 1982 and it looks as good as it does, as spectacular as it does, is really to Ridley Scott's credit. That the look of the film is sensational, and even Philip K. Dick, who wrote the original novel Blade Runner is based on, and sadly he passed away just before the film's release. Although he did get to see like the first 20 minutes of the film before he passed away. Even Dick was impressed by the whole look that Ridley Scott came up with, and he even told Ridley Scott, yes, this is what the futuristic society of my book looks like. Yes, you nailed it. So while it's sad that Philip K. Dick didn't live to see the completed film, he did see about the first 20 minutes of it. And he
was 2049 based on a book, or was that did they just develop it themselves?
They just developed it themselves. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But anyway, yeah. Dick complimented Scott on the first 20 minutes of the film that he saw just before he died. So that says something. That the look of the film is sensational. I mean, again, you see this futuristic metropolitan city that's the action is mostly taking place at night. It's raining. The buildings go sky high. They have these gargantuan advertisement signs that are just as big as the buildings themselves.
Yeah.
The futuristic flying cars, which are also known as spinners. I guess that's the official
name. Whoa! I'll try spinning. I'll try.
Yeah, but it's called a spinner. Am I right, Jack? It's called a spinner.
Yeah. No. Could you imagine young Annie there saying, "I'll try spinning. That's a good trick." Whoa!
Yeah. Yeah.
Why got told me to stay in films? That's what I'm gonna do.
Yeah, exactly. But anyway, right. But the whole look of the world is sensational. I mean, just the whole world that Ridley Scott creates here, using Philip K. Dick's original novel as the source material. I mean, it is spectacular to look at. Whenever I see those buildings that go sky high, or I see the spinner cars flying past those advertisement signs that go, high up into the sky.
Enjoy Coca-Cola.
Yeah, right. I mean, it has a wonderful kind of.
I swear there was a Coke product placement in the second one as well.
Yeah, there is. I mean, it's fun looking at all the stuff that they're advertising. I mean, this is product placement that I think makes sense.
Yeah.
Because if you were to see this futuristic society, you would see these advertisements.
They're in a commercial world. Yeah, exactly.
World, so it makes sense.
Yeah.
So you would see these big billboard neon, moving signs for Coke, and
it's not like product placement like Die Another Day. Like enjoy Gillette razor.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So advertisements for Coke and for Atari and even for Pan Am Airlines, which is no longer
Atari joystick.
Yeah. It's fun. It's fun to look at that, and it seems to make sense. But yeah, the whole world that's created in that first film is just fascinating to look at.
Would you? Sorry to interrupt you, Alan. Would you say that it is sort of like? Would you agree with me and Ollie that it's sort of like you can tell that this is based on a noir film, like the old the old detective films in a futuristic setting? Because I think they even say it's like a neo-noir, like the fact that Harrison Ford's like a private detective. It's kind of like the Maltese Falcon for me, or Chinatown with Jack Nicholson, except it's in the future. Like that kind of.
Yeah. I think it's because of Blade Runner that they came up with the term sci-fi noir. I think,
Yeah.
or neon noir. Is that another term?
Neo noir, yeah.
Neon noir, sci-fi noir. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. It does have that feel. It does have that feel to it. Now I want to throw in that and this is gonna test to see if Jack is a well-balanced Blade Runner fan or if he's one of those fanatical, overzealous Blade Runner fans, because I've come across a couple of fanatical ones on YouTube. Because some of the people who love the original Blade Runner film love it, I think, just a little too much, and they get really pissed off if you mention that Blade Runner wasn't really the first movie to show a big futuristic metropolitan city on the screen. That actually it was the Fritz Lang sci-fi classic that I love, Metropolis from 1927.
No, I'll agree. I'll agree with that. Actually, I'll agree that Metropolis did that way before that. I mean, I haven't seen Metropolis, but I've seen clips on YouTube, and yeah, Blade Runner wasn't the first one to do that. I mean, I'm not a mad Blade Runner fan, but I mean, like I said, it was the first couple of times I watched it. I didn't really care for it that much, but I just grown to love it more. But yeah, I mean,
all I'm saying is that Metropolis did it first, but what Blade Runner did is that it took what Fritz Lang did in Metropolis and expanded on it and kind of took it to the level, which I guess it only makes sense because Blade Runner came a huge 55 years after Metropolis, and it was shot in color, and obviously Ridley Scott had a much bigger budget to work with than what Fritz Lang did. But there are some overzealous Blade Runner fans I discovered on YouTube who get really pissed off if you mention that Metropolis showed a futuristic metropolitan city on screen.
Again,
those people are. Let's be honest, those people are stupid. I mean, you know, if you think that, then you're just completely.
No, they are. They're fucking cocksuckers to Ridley Scott.
Yeah, but I mean,
invent everything.
but talking about that, Alan, you're talking about like overzealous Blade Runner fans. Would you say that there might be some overzealous 2001: Space Odyssey fans? Because I know some people who really don't rate that film, who just think it's boring, and like some people just think that film is so overrated because people talk about it all the time. Like I know some people who just watched it and thought it was okay. Like some people just think that though while visually it's good, they just don't like.
Same situation as Blade Runner.
Yeah,
with the pacing too slow.
Yeah.
My stance is, well, first of all, if you don't like 2001, I'm sorry if you don't like it, because I'm standing my ground that I think it's the greatest sci-fi film ever made. That's my personal opinion of the film, that it is a masterpiece. But if people don't like it, if certain people don't like it because they complain that it's boring, well, I mean, I think I can understand where they're coming from, because the movie kind of bored me the first time I ever saw it. But again, there was just something about it that intrigued me and made me want to go back and look at it again. And it was over time that I came to really love and appreciate 2001.
Yeah, I think we're in the same camp when it comes to Blade Runner and 2001. Like the first couple of times you watched 2001, you didn't really like it, and then you came to love it. It's kind of the same with me with Blade Runner. But I mean, yeah, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, but there are some. I mean, there may be some overzealous 2001 fans who get pissed off when somebody complains that the movie is boring. It's not for everybody. I mean,
I think we all agree that there are a lot of overzealous Titanic fans.
Oh yeah. Oh god. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Bangos.
I mean, I'm not bashing Harry. He's great, but like when he says like, "Oh, how could you not love it? How could you not say it's a masterpiece?" Well, I'm sorry. That's just our opinion. You know.
Yeah. I mean, he left a really nice comment on my review of Titanic, and I realize Harry might be listening to this.
No, he's a great guy. He's a great guy.
Yeah.
He's a great guy. He's a great guy, and of course, he's entitled to his opinion. If he really loves Titanic, that's fine. I mean, I said so in my review video. I know there are a whole lot of people who love Titanic, and that's fine. But I do personally disagree that that I do think it's just really overrated. It's technically brilliant, Titanic. It's technically brilliant, but I hate that stupid cheeseball love story. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Harry. If you're watching this, if you're listening to this right now, sorry. I just don't like the love story.
Well, and you know what else was disgusting about that was not Harry, but the Titanic was the fact that when Cameron got the Oscar, his arrogance was so like when he received the award, he said, "I'm the king of the world." And he just quotes the
Yeah.
film. Like, why would you do that? That's so arrogant. Ugh.
Yeah, it was just like, oh, look at me, I got an Oscar, you know.
Yeah, the highest grossing movie ever up to that point, and it was like, yeah, I'm the king of the world. Oh, fuck's sake.
I mean, I like Cameron as a director, apart from Titanic, but he does come across as a dickhead on set and stuff like that. Apparently, he's not a very nice person. But actually, talking about overzealous Titanic fans, this isn't. I mean, we're a bit off track here. We'll get back to Blade Runner just a sec. But I agree with like what annoys me about overzealous Titanic fans is some of them. I'm not saying this is hard, but some of them just like dismiss earlier Titanic films. Like some people are like, "Oh, A Night to Remember, it's boring. It's nowhere near as good as James Cameron's Titanic." You know. Yeah. It's like,
I mean, Cameron had the biggest budget by far. I mean, he was able to build a scale.
Then again, the studio weren't even sure it was going to work. They thought it was a flop. They thought it was going to be a flop.
Right.
No, but
exactly.
But
it has the biggest budget. It's the most impressive looking of all the Titanic movies. But why the fuck did he have to throw in that cheeseball love story and base it on fictional characters who were never on board the real Titanic?
And why was it 3 hours long?
I mean, I'm not bashing Harry here because, like I said, he's a great guy. You know, he just hit 600 subscribers recently, so good on him. But it kind of annoyed me when I think he left a comment on all his review when he said like, "Oh, I find the original Titanic to be like, Night to Remember is boring. Like, oh, like it's boring. All the characters they're so forgettable compared to the James Cameron Titanic." It's like if you love the Titanic with James Cameron, that's fair enough, but I don't get how the original forgettable characters were boring because these were all real characters. They weren't fictional, and I just think kind of to dismiss the older film is just kind of, for me anyway. But I mean, I'm not saying this is Harry because, like I said, he's a great guy.
Yeah, I mean, at least Harry, you can like somebody's opinion. You know, he's not going to get a fuss if you disagree with him. He'll be like, fair enough. Okay, fine, and that's all you can ask, really.
Yeah, but I mean, like I said. Just to wrap up, he's a great guy, but I just think, well, not him actually, just other Titanic fans are like, oh, like the older Titanic films are nothing compared to the James Cameron masterpiece, or like Night to Remember, like all these other films, like they're forgettable and stuff. It's like fair enough if you love the 97 one, but I mean, what's your opinion on that, Alan? To sort of talk about overzealous Blade Runner fans compared to like Titanic fans or whatever.
Insofar as what's James Cameron's best movie, or
well, no, like what do you think? Like when people like overzealous Titanic fans sort of bash the older Titanic films, like comparing it to Blade Runner or something, or just like your thoughts on that?
Well, overzealous Titanic fans. Well, I mean, like I said, if they love the movie, that's fine. I get it. I know lots of people love that movie, although it's mostly fangirls. All of that. But if they love the movie, that's fine. But to dismiss all the other Titanic movies that have been made, and in particular to dismiss A Night to Remember, is absurd. Because A Night to Remember focuses on the real people who are on board the Titanic, not these fictional lovebirds. And the drama is a lot more intense, I think. And I think that's to the credit of A Night to Remember. It had a much smaller budget than Titanic, obviously, and yet you felt the fear of the ship going down anyway. You cared about these people, and they're all the real people that were on board the ship, not fictional creations of James Cameron. The only mistake the Night to Remember makes is when we see the Titanic slide under the water in one piece, because we know now.
I mean, in their defense, at the time, they didn't really know that, but I think I think we can forgive that.
We can forgive it. It's forgivable. You know, they just didn't know. Nobody knew.
The wreck wasn't discovered until 85 when they found the ship broken off. But I mean, going to Cameron's film and then getting back to Blade Runner, because we are getting really off topic here. I mean, what's interesting, I think Cameron, because he spent so much money, I think he must have just made that romance, novel bullshit. I think the reason he put that romance story in was to get his money back, to market it to all those teenage girls so he can get all his money back on that film. Or else, if he just made that all fictional, it'll probably just sank. I don't know, like the actual thing.
Well, his plan worked. I mean, the fangirls showed up and they went to see it again and again and again and again.
And even in 3D 5 years ago.
Yeah.
He should have cast Harrison Ford as Jack Dawson.
No, Harrison Ford would have been a great Captain Smith. Oh, iceberg, dead ahead.
Probably.
Right. Let's let Alan continue with Blade Runner.
Okay. So to wrap up about the look of the film is sensational. That's the main thing I take away from the original Blade Runner, is that the look of it is terrific. The story, now I totally hear what Jack is saying, that underneath the surface we've got this stuff going on about the replicants and what it means to be human and all of that. But I think what threw people off about the original Blade Runner, so I'm not the only one here, is that on the surface, it just appears to be about, okay, this futuristic cop, he has to hunt down these 4 replicants and kill them, and okay, he hunts them down, he kills them. The end.
Yeah, that's what I thought the first couple of times I watched it. I was just like, that's it. You know?
I guess what it is that there's a subtext, and in order to understand that, like Jack said, you got to watch it a few more times. But
but not only that, but the original film, if you watch, I mean, I think a lot of people now just watch the final cut without the narration. The original narration, even though it's terrible, it does explain all this. But yeah, I think if you're like Alan and you just buy the final cut and you haven't seen the film in years, you're just kind of, that's all you see, if you know what I mean, like Alan's saying. Like,
Dear diary, today I killed a replicant. It was great. The end.
Right, exactly. Oh, speaking of Harry, okay. Looks like Harry just posted a birthday vlog here. Okay, well, good. I'll check it out later, Harry. Just got this little. Anyway. As I was saying, I mean, on the surface, it appears to be the story appears to be as simple can be, but underneath the surface, okay, there could indeed be this other thing going on about what it means to be human, and if the replicants, have souls, so to speak, supposedly have souls. But I just don't think that it was. I don't think that was clear enough in the first film. Whereas in the second film, it's totally clear.
I agree with that.
Clear. So I agree with you, Jack, that whole subtext thing is probably there. I will even say it is there, but it's not noticeable on the first viewing of the movie.
I think on the final cut, it's not noticeable. But if you watch the original, the narration, they explain all that. Like Deckard says, like I said, like when Roy dies, he says, like, I don't know why he saved my life, like the terrible narration where it says, I don't know why he saved my life. Maybe in his last few moments, he loved life more than he ever could before. But yeah, if you're just watching.
Yeah, and apparently they wrote that into spoon feed to the audience, that's what it is. Just in case the audience didn't get that. Yeah. So we're going to spoon feed it to you with Harrison Ford doing this narration thing.
Well, a lot of people nowadays are stupid.
Yeah, because actually, I'm not sure if the subtext about being human, what it means to be human, blah blah blah. I don't know if that really truly comes to life in the first film until Rutger Hauer finally does his closing monologue about tears and rain, and that when I die, I'm going to forget everything that I saw, and it'll dissolve like tears and rain or something like that. It's like only then it seems that maybe there is something more going on here than just a cop hunting down replicants.
I think that is the bookend, though. I think it is referenced throughout the film, but it's just never explicitly stated because the narration. I think because the narration isn't there anymore, so they can't explain it to you that clearly.
It's on YouTube.
Well, yeah, it's on YouTube, but it's not like in the final cut.
And also, the romance.
Resubscribe.
Maybe also the romance that Deckard has with Rachel. That's another part of that subtext. I mean, he's falling in love with a replicant.
Yeah, so the thing he hates. Yeah, the thing he's tracking down to kill. Yeah.
Right. Whether he's one of them or not, it's kind of interesting that he's it was weird, maybe because I didn't grasp the love story fully until the scene where he was forcing himself on her. I found it a bit strange. I thought, oh fuck, he's that's a bit creepy. But now that the second movie has addressed their relationship a bit more clearly, I can see, they generally are in love, and obviously that something good has come out of it. But we'll get to 2049 shortly. Sorry, Alan.
Yeah. Well, 2049 is 50 years, nearly 50 years away.
Yep. But anyway, let's see. To move it along, as far as the actors, I mean, the acting for what it is in the movie is fine. I mean, it is really cool to see Harrison Ford in his prime back in 1982. So this was after
Ford as fuck during the narration.
Yeah. Well, at least it's no longer a problem with the final cut that they took out the narration. So,
yeah.
And it does improve the movie. I admit it improves the film. But yeah, seeing him here from 1982. So obviously he shot this after Raiders of the Lost Ark, but before Return of the Jedi. So this was you're looking at Harrison Ford in his prime, in his movie prime here. So it's cool to see him in this film. I admit his performance for what it is good. Although I think his performance in the second film is even better. It's
actually, yeah, I agree with that. Yeah.
Actually, I'm going to disagree here. I think I prefer his performance here because he is just this emotionally shut off guy, and at the end he isn't. That's what I'm going to go on a limb here. I know you guys are probably going to totally disagree with me, but I think this might be Harrison. I mean, I love Star Wars. I love Han Solo. I love Indiana Jones, but I think for me this might be Harrison Ford's best performance. That's just my opinion, because I just think he goes to a place where he's completely. I mean, if you watch the film, you just think he's just giving an ordinary performance, but he's just this emotionally cut off guy. So that's why I mean, I liked him in 2049, but I don't know. I think he gives the same performance, to be honest, that he does in the first one, because he's just the same. Like, oh, I'm Deckard, you know.
Well, the thing is, he's not. So
I mean, and that's what I'll say as well. He's hardly in Blade Runner 2049 as well. So I don't get how his performance in that is better, but yeah.
But when he does finally show up in the second film, I mean, it's not just a cameo. I mean, he has an important role to play.
Yeah.
And I thought,
but he's only in the last third of the film. But yeah.
But it's pretty much the most important third of the movie.
Yeah, and I thought that his character of Deckard gets an extra emotional layer that we didn't see in the first film, which I appreciate.
I'm sorry, Jack. I have to agree with Alan there. I think, yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Do you really? Because, I mean, this whole film is Harrison Ford. Because that's why I prefer his one. I mean, performance is good in 2049, but it's the same performance. And only that, why I prefer his performance here is because he is just emotionally shut off. Like he's just an emotionally shut off person, and at the end he falls in love. That's why I think his performance here is better. But you know, fair enough. Like, yeah.
But for the record, I mean, he is good. I mean, he is good in the first film. Okay, I didn't dislike his performance.
Yeah, no, exactly. He is good. He's very good.
Are you a fair cameo role? Joking.
We're haunted by the scripts that I never should have given us.
Okay, but I mean, he is good, and it is good to see him in this movie, in the first film. You know, I mean, he's certainly commanding enough.
Yeah,
you know?
I mean, it's Harrison Ford. You know, it's Harrison.
Yeah.
Ford. Yeah,
it's Harrison Ford. You know, he's always been a great presence on screen. I think that's why he's endured as a movie actor all these years, because he has that great screen presence. And
actually, one thing I will say: do you think he's had a career revival since Force Awakens and now Blade Runner, and I think in a couple of years, Indiana Jones? Do you think this might be his second peak in his career? Like,
maybe, but the thing is, Indiana Jones 5 might kill his career.
Yeah, I mean, I still don't know how they're going to pull off that fifth Indiana Jones movie. I
think he's going to pull himself into, being disabled.
Yeah, I mean, say what you want about the fourth Indiana Jones movie, which I happen to enjoy, even though most people don't. But
I agree.
But physically, he held up just well enough in that fourth film. I still believe it.
With the help of a nuclear fridge. Oh, well, not nuclear fridge, sorry, a fridge.
But physically, he was still in good shape. Okay, when he
threw good enough. Yeah.
One thing I will say, Alan, was much older than Roger Moore in his last film. I don't get why you think Harrison Ford's okay in Crystal Skull, but Roger Moore's just so bad in A View to a Kill, especially since Roger Moore's younger than Harrison Ford in A View to a Kill than Harrison Ford is in Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. Like,
I think because Harrison Ford showed more energy and vigor in Crystal Skull than Roger Moore did in A View to a Kill.
well,
Yeah.
I would I would
So,
disagree.
guys, let's stay on track because we're getting really off topic. And
Yeah.
I tell you what, guys, we can talk about it next week if you're both free. Let's do the Indiana Jones hangout. We haven't done that one yet, so.
Oh, okay, we can do that next time. Okay, so anyway, but Blade Runner, and like I said, okay, Harrison Ford. I mean, I think he's certainly good enough and commanding enough in the first film. It's great to see a young Sean Young in her movie prime, because it's sad that her movie career kind of derailed itself later on. You don't really hear much of Sean Young these days. But
yeah, I've heard apparently she's not that great on set. She's very hard to work with on set, and that's why Hollywood hasn't cast her in films. Yeah.
Yeah, it's well known that she's got a really bad reputation, and
Why is she a bitch or something?
In short, yes.
Yeah.
She's got a lot of attitude, apparently.
On set, yeah.
That she's.
Oh,
she's
so I wanted to fuck her.
She kind of destroyed her own career with her bad attitude on set. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, she's still alive. I mean, she's getting by.
Is it actually her in the second movie, or is it a CGI version of her?
It's CGI.
Yeah, I mean, it's another actress. It's another actress, and they CGI'd Sean Young's face.
Yeah.
Over.
Take that, Sean Young.
Yeah, I'm surprised you didn't notice that, Ollie. I mean, she looks just the same.
I did, but I wasn't sure. Like, I couldn't tell.
I mean, like, yeah, well, fair enough. Yeah, you think she'd be a lot older looking for Blade Runner 2049, but yeah.
Yeah, no, but I wasn't sure. Like, if that what you just explained, I thought that was what happened, but I wasn't entirely sure. But no, thank you for confirming that. Anyway, Alan, sorry.
Sure. But still, I mean, Blade Runner was definitely the movie that made Sean Young a star. It was one of her first roles. I mean, it's great to see her in her breakout role in this first film.
She's pretty good looking for a replicant.
Back then she was a babe, yeah. And also,
yeah.
If you also want to see her as a babe, you should see her in the movie No Way Out with Kevin Costner. I think she shows some skin in that movie. So
yeah. Alan, she's pretty good looking for a replicant.
For a replicant, yeah. Have you seen what she looks like now, though?
Yeah, I want to see the original.
yeah. But anyway, back then, yes, of course, she was gorgeous. But anyway, and she's a good actress. Besides, when she's not being bitchy on set, I'll give her that. But anyway, to see her in her breakout role here in Blade Runner, yeah, great, and she definitely has a lot of screen presence here, and that was her breakout role here in Blade Runner. So it's good to see her in this. Again, the action when it does show up is really good. Like when Deckard's chasing after the first replicant, the dancer replicant.
Yeah.
Yes. Rutger Hauer, I think, is really good as Roy. It could be argued that he could have been given even more to do as the main replicant.
Yeah.
But
what he is given to do is fine.
Yeah. Alan, would you say the scene where he shoots the dancer, like you were saying, do you think that shows how sort of cold Deckard is? He just shoot this dancer who's doing nothing, like she's basically no threat to society. She's just a dancer,
It's cold, but at the same time, Deckard has a job to do. He's assigned to hunt down these 4 replicants. She is one of the replicants that he has to hunt down, and her main crime is that she came to Earth unauthorized, like the other 3 replicants, and she can't be here. And it's his job to retire her, so to speak.
Yeah.
So
it's to give her a pension.
It's cold, but at the same time, he's only following orders.
Yeah.
Imagine if he had to retire her and put her in a nursing home. Like, here's your pension. Like,
yeah. Well, it was sad. It was sad to see her go. I mean, she's pretty hot looking for a replicant.
Yeah. Did you like to see her nipples on screen, Alan? Like that scene?
Yeah, that was nice. But and I did feel I did feel bad for her because after she dies, I mean, I think she had like a tear in her eye when we get that close up of her face when she's on the ground. So I felt sad, but at the same time, my feeling is that Deckard was only following orders. That she was one of the 4 replicants he had to hunt down, and he hunted her down. He was just following orders. He was just doing.
1 out of 4 ain't bad.
Huh?
1 out of 4 ain't bad.
Yeah. But that's my thing, is that Deckard was just doing his job. Even if he didn't fully enjoy doing it, he did what he had to do. So that's how I look at it. So anyway, to wrap up, because my goodness, Ollie hasn't said anything yet about the first Blade Runner. Overall, I like the first Blade Runner, and now that I have it on DVD, and now that I really thoroughly enjoy the second movie, 2049, I will definitely, in the future, take another look at the original Blade Runner. I think I want to hold off on watching the first Blade Runner movie again until the second movie comes out on DVD, and then I can watch them both back to back. And
5.5 hours.
Yeah, well, I might not do a marathon, but like
I said, like one on one day and one on the other.
Yeah. Once the second movie is out on DVD,
because it's long as well. You have to have a long time to watch the second one. My fucking hell.
Yeah.
Right. So to wrap up, once the second movie comes out on DVD, then I'll be more than happy to take a look at the first film again. And I think over time I will.
Are they going to do a third one?
I have no idea, because the second movie, sadly, is not doing well at the box office.
Yeah, I think the issue with that is audiences nowadays are stupid. They're being misled. They think, it's going to be a big action, fun gore fest. They're not intelligent enough to deal with this, with all these subtext and all these themes, and they think, it's too slow. They're telling people, don't go and see it. And that's the same thing with War for the Planet of the Apes. People are being misled, and they're being told, there's nothing that happens. It's so slow and it's boring. Don't see it. But
unfortunately,
I mean, with movies like the Transformers, where it's all just boom, 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 boom.
Oh God!
It's a fucking masturbatory session of special effects.
I don't understand how a film like Martin Scorsese's Silence, that came out earlier this year. I don't understand how a great piece of art like that failed, but like Transformers are still doing really well at the box office. It's because the audience are like, I want explosions, I want Fast and the Furious.
As I said to you, Jax, the audience, they're dumb. They don't care.
Yeah.
They just want to be entertained.
Yeah, I mean, they've already made 7 Fast and the Furious films. That's how much they care.
Check out the new Saw movie, Jigsaw, lol.
Yeah.
They might as well have made that movie about a fucking puzzle piece trying to fit in. Like the Emoji Movie. It's gonna be that fucking dumb.
Some of the best action movies and some of the best sci-fi movies are the ones that don't have so much boom, 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 boom in them.
Yes, exactly.
Just because they call it an action movie doesn't mean there has to be an explosion every
exactly.
seconds. Michael Bay.
Yeah, French Connection 2. Gene Hackman's in a cell for 10 or 20 minutes just detoxing from the heroin. That's a fucking great movie, but that doesn't need action all the time. I mean, it has action, but
even James Bond doesn't have action every 2 minutes. James Bond, he knows when to slow down and be quiet.
Well, apart from Die Another Day.
Yeah, well, I mean, let's not go there with that one.
Yeah, let's not.
Yeah.
So,
I missed the touch of a good woman.
Yeah,
who says I'm good?
That's right. Okay, so anyway, my final rating for Blade Runner, and I give this to you with the admittance that I am going to look at the first Blade Runner movie again sometime down the road, especially when the second movie comes out on DVD. I'll look at it again, and I'm sure my rating for the first Blade Runner movie may indeed go up. But for now, having seen the film only twice, and the first time was years ago, I admire the whole visual splendor of the first Blade Runner movie, the art direction, the cinematography. It all looks sensational. And the fact that this film was done back in 1982, I mean, that's quite impressive, that the whole look of this whole world is sensational. But I just didn't think that there was that much of a story there when I watched it, that the characters appeared to be kind of thin, that the story appeared to be thin, but my opinion may change in the future. So for now, just because the movie is so fucking terrific to look at, For that reason alone, I will give Blade Runner a respectable 7 out of 10.
All right,
Nice.
Alan. Just to quote, what was it? Like, just to quote Humphrey Bogart here on the dreams, on what Decker's dreams my unicorn is.
Harry, what is it?
Stuff that dreams are made of.
Huh? Harry,
That may as
You
well
said
be
it.
like, yeah.
Stuff
You
that
said it,
dreams
Humphrey.
are made of. Harrison
Dreams are made of.
Ford.
Yeah.
That's what Harrison Ford should have said at the end of the first one, where he picked up the unicorn.
Do androids dream of electric sheep? Yeah, so, yeah. That sounds like
He should have just said that when he picked up the unicorn at the end. The stuff that
Oh,
dreams
by
are
the way, can I throw in one last thing about that original novel before Ollie begins very quickly? Did you know they actually made a stage play out of that Philip K. Dick novel? Do androids dream of electric sheep? It had a successful run, I think, in Los Angeles a few years ago.
Yeah. Also, what's interesting, Philip K. Dick was mad, which was interesting. Apparently, he saw a gamma beam come from someone's necklace, he said, years ago. But
Yeah, interesting.
It's
But
sort
and,
of a-
I'll say one last thing. It makes me interested in reading that original novel because I'm curious to read the novel that Philip K. Dick wrote. You know,
Yeah.
just see what he originally envisioned for Deckard and this whole world of replicants. So there you go. I'm done talking about it. Let's turn it over now to Ollie.
Oh, thank you. Anyway, oh, yourself because about what I'm going to say. I think I appear to be the elephant in the room. Again,
or Jimmy the unicorn in the room.
yeah, well, I certainly don't dream about unicorns. But anyway, I think for me, like,
or ponies.
oh, fuck off. Anyway, back to Blade Runner. I would like to point out that I've only seen this movie once, a grand total of uno times. So my
That's a lot.
opinion of the movie will probably change at some point in the future, depending on how I feel when I rewatch it. But as it stands currently, I think Blade Runner is fucking okay. Yeah, okay. Yeah, it's fine. Yeah, I don't. It's harmless. I'm kind of more on leaning towards Alan's side, really. I think the movie is a technical masterpiece. I mean, there's no doubt about that. Even today, it looks fantastic, and you know, I definitely got sucked into the world. I mean, Ridley Scott has always been a very visual filmmaker, anyway. But he's definitely adapted. He created something that's very amazing, to say the least. And like you said, the product placement definitely feels right. I just think the story, whilst I hear you, Jack, the subtext of the story, when you explained it to me, it is interesting and it is clever, but I wasn't really gripped by it. I thought, yeah, okay, yeah, it's cool, but I'm not interested. But the second movie gripped me more, which is why I prefer it, because it actually kept me interested throughout 2 hours 43 minutes. So this one I think it took a bit too long for things to really start happening. The first like half an hour for me was nothing, and I mean this with the greatest respect, of course. Like I just thought that the plot could have moved a little bit quicker. It didn't need to be as slow as it was. I mean, I thought it was just an eensy-weensy bit too slow, and at times it was a bit of a tax to sit through. I thought, come on, just pick up the pace. I mean, I know what it's trying to do. It's trying to be like a sci-fi noir movie, and it's trying to be a mixture of two different genres, and it does work. But my oh my, it is a movie that's been messed around with. You can see that in the end result. But I do think that final cut that we've got is good, and I mean, now that you've explained it, I understand the story a bit more. But when I watched the movie for the first time, I was kind of confused. I was like, "What the hell is going on?" I couldn't quite make sense of it. But I need to watch it again. I think that's the clear point that I'm making here. I need to watch it again and really look at it. Having seen the second one now, having to look at it from a different perspective. But there are some cool things here, like the third act is good. I like the ending speech and the action. When it's there, the action is great. But I do have to admit, it's fucking weird. It's fucking strange. I mean, like going into this haunted house. Like I don't know if it's meant to be that, but that's what I see it as. It's like a haunted house, and like it's like Roy is being really creepy and scary. I'm like, what the fuck? Is this like House of Horrors, like sci-fi? What? Like, it was so weird. But again, I need to rewatch it, so I'll probably appreciate the movie a lot more. But yeah, there's definitely a certain level of intrigue here. But again, for me, it's the pacing. It's a bit too slow in places, and well, it needed to just a little bit more, not necessarily tighter, but to move along a bit more. There's I think there's a couple of unnecessary scenes I'm worried about for the second, that the second was going to be way too long, but thankfully it wasn't. I think the direction by Ridley Scott is good. He's definitely fallen in love with this story, and I think, as I said in my review, the characters, they don't really stand out to me much. I mean, Rachel definitely stands out to me a bit more now, having seen the second movie. We'll get to that shortly. Deckard is obviously the best character in it, and Harrison Ford gives a good performance. I'm sorry, Jack. I don't think it's his best performance. It's not because I love Star Wars or Indiana Jones, but I just feel that Ford actually was able to work better with those parts because they became more iconic, and also he didn't have the issues with like he did with Ridley Scott. But I totally understand your opinion, and that's fine. You know, he definitely. I mean, Harrison Ford never gives a bad performance, I think, is the point that I'm trying to make.
Really?
I mean,
I agree.
I mean, with the exception of that narration, which is hilarious. Yeah, he doesn't give a bad performance. I mean, I've lost my train of thought. What was I going to say?
Hit you soon.
Yeah, I definitely like seeing his journey and how he's trying to solve this mystery and not so much solve the mystery, trying to hunt down these replicants, and he's questioning his identity, and then obviously he falls in love with Rachel. So there's a lot of things that kind of get in his way, and he goes through a lot of barriers, and I like that. I thought that was interesting. So he was the best character in it, but the villain Roy was a nothing villain. I didn't care for him. I may care for him when I watch the movie again. I mean, other than his ending speech, I didn't really care for him. I agree with Alan. He could have got much more to do. But, you know, that's just me. Then again, the villain in the second one didn't get much to do either.
Yeah, much less to do, actually.
Well, I found it about the same. But, I mean, anyway, we'll get to 2049 in a minute. I just don't think the story is as good as people say. It's intriguing, but it's slow. It's slow. I completely understand what it's trying to do. It's trying to embrace that old sort of noir style, but in a futuristic setting. But I just think certain audiences aren't going to have the patience to sit through it. You got to have a hell of a lot of patience to sit through Blade Runner. I think, like I said, when I watched it again, I think I will be able to watch it and appreciate it better. I've also got a new television in my room, so I've got a bigger TV. I'll be able to watch it on a bigger screen. Yes, and also
really cool.
Yeah, thank you. And also, I have seen the second one, so that was a much longer movie, so I was able to sit through that much easier. I think I just think it's all right. I mean, there's not much more I can say. I mean, the music is cool, if a little bit strange, but it kind of works, I guess. I forgot
to mention it in my take of the film that the music by Vangelis is terrific.
Yeah, I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to say too much more because I've only seen the film once, so I can't remember what else to really talk about. I guess I could say I kind of liked the character of Pris. Thought she was cool. It was a shame when she died. It was a bit strange. It was sad to see her go. But I can certainly see why people love it and why it's admired by so many people. And again, I plan to watch it again. But as it stands right now, my rating for it is a 5 out of 10. But
Fuck you! Joking.
a very high 5 out of 10 so before you rant at me.
I was only joking.
I know. So yeah, now let's try and move this along as best we can because it is getting a bit late. So well, it is okay. So yes, so Jack, what do you think of the sequel, Blade Runner 2049?
Well, when I was hearing they were doing a Blade Runner sequel, probably like most people, I didn't know what to think. People,
Sorry.
I mean, if you're going to be honest, I think Blade Runner 2049, it's when you compare to the original Blade Runner, you could say this was an unnecessary sequel, but a necessary sequel, if you know what I mean. Like, so many years after the first one, you're thinking to yourself, why do we have a sequel now? You know, 35 years. I mean, I can only imagine, you know, waiting 35 years for a sequel, nearly 40 years for a sequel to Blade Runner. Like, imagine living in 1982. Oh, can't wait for the sequel. Nearly 40 years later, Blade Runner 2049. You know.
Well, I mean, Alan had to wait.
Yeah, I mean, God, you know, nearly 4 decades for a sequel, Alan. I don't know, like, I mean, for you, when you first heard it, did you think, like, you know, they're doing a sequel now? Like, was that your sort of, like, opinion when you first heard of it? Or did you not, like, really care?
Oh, you're asking me?
Yeah.
I think I was cool with it. Maybe I did feel kind of two-sided about they're doing a sequel to Blade Runner now, but then again, the same thing could be said when they did the sequel to Tron Legacy, that they waited 28 years before they did that sequel. But I enjoyed the sequel immensely. Not everybody did, but I certainly did. So I think I was on the one hand curious that they were doing a sequel to Blade Runner so late in the day, but at the same time, I was definitely open to it, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. So,
yeah, I mean,
it worked for me.
Yeah, but I mean, as for me anyway, I mean, I'd never really seen the first one, so I mean, the trailer sort of intrigued me. I was kind of like, so I watched the first film. Actually, I think I might have watched the first film just before the trailer came out because I think I think I might have watched even before 2049 was announced. So when I first saw the trailer, it looked really good. I mean, I thought from the trailer it looked. I mean, even from the trailer, I thought it looked excellent. But I know a lot of people, you know, going into this were probably thinking to themselves, "Oh God, not another Hollywood sequel." And thank God it wasn't, because I think Blade Runner 2049. This is a fantastic sequel. I would say this is probably one of the best sequels of all time, up there with Godfather Part 2, Empire Strikes Back, French Connection 2, for me anyway. It's brilliant. I mean, I think, you know, this film just captures the tone. It captures everything that made the first film great, for me anyway. I think Denis Villeneuve, I think he was a really good choice. I mean, when you first hear that Scott's directing and then he's not directing, you're kind of like, oh, like someone else directing, this might not be as good. But I think, judging from Scott with his recent films, like, I mean, I thought The Martian was great. I really enjoyed The Martian, but some of his recent films, like Alien, Covenant, and Prometheus, considering the reviews they got, and they were sort of prequels to Alien, I'm glad that he didn't direct this film, and I think Villeneuve brings a lot of great. I think he brings a lot of good stuff to this. I mean, as for the film itself, I know some people, like I've seen, like the guy I was talking about earlier, Rachel Hall, like he hates Blade Runner 2049 because he loves the original so much, and he says even if it's brilliant, it's still an unnecessary sequel, and he hated it. Now there are a few people who actually hate. Yeah, Yeah, there are some people who actually hate this film, like who are big fans of the original, and it isn't doing that well at the box office. I mean, mostly the critical reception has been amazing. Like, I think it's got 89% Rotten Tomatoes. You know, I mean, it's
still very good.
Yeah, it had 90 something percent. But I think it had 99% when it first came out on Rotten Tomatoes. So that's a really good critical rating. But I mean, as for the film itself, I think it's really good. I mean, you could tell Villeneuve has tried as hard as he can to recapture the magic of the original. I think he does a great job. I think Ryan Gosling in this is great, and I think the opening is great too. Actually, it's interesting to note the opening of Blade Runner 2049 was actually how the original Blade Runner was going to open. They were actually originally going to open the original Blade Runner with Deckard sitting in a kitchen, and the guy comes in and then he shoots him dead. But they decided to use that for the opening of Blade Runner 2049. And that's a great way to open it. I mean, you got Dave Bautista, you know, from Spectre returning in this.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, that opening scene is actually, I mean, it's a great action scene. It's quite graphic, like where he rips the eyeball. Well, you don't see him rip the eyeball out, but you see the eyeball in his hand or whatever, and he's checking him out for a replica, and he's like, oh, you never seen a miracle happen. And unlike the original, like, it's pretty much stated from the start of this film that Detective K is basically a replicant, that he's, you know, he's an out-and-out replicant, which I think is interesting. And I think Ryan Gosling gives a really good performance. I mean, for me, he's not as good as Harrison Ford. I'm going to be honest. I don't think he's as good as Harrison Ford, but he's still very good. He's sort of got the cold, emotionally shut off killer thing that Harrison Ford had in the original, which is really good. And I mean, Ryan Gosling himself, I think, is a great actor. I mean, I saw him in Drive, and he was excellent in that. So I think he's one of the best actors working in Hollywood today. So they couldn't have got a better choice. Story itself, like, because we're going to go into spoilers right now. Spoilers. Yeah. I mean, I spoiled it.
About spoilers, then you can watch on.
Yeah, I mean, as for me, I just spoiled the shit out of it in my review. I mean, if you're going to watch a review, I say spoilers all the way, personally, because I think you have to watch a film before you read a review, because like, you know, you don't know what the film's about if you're just reading a review before seeing the film. But anyway, I mean, I think the story is really intriguing. Like, it's a basic story, but that's what I like about it, and that's what I like about this film. And that's what I agree with Ollie and Alan were saying earlier. Like, you know, that audiences now, they're stupid. I mean, not all of them are. I mean, I think it's wrong to generalize all of audiences now as stupid.
Exactly.
I mean, I don't think they're stupid. I just think they're used to a certain type of film. I think since Star Wars and and the fact that we got more action films in the 80s, I think people are just used to a certain type of film now, which is a shame, which is a real shame with this film, because I think the story is really intriguing. I mean, like, when he, like, you know, he finds, you know, he checks out and he finds that there's a body in the crate, and it turns out to be Rachel. I mean, at first I was kind of disappointed that she was dead. I was like, oh, did she really have to die? But watching the film, it made sense. And I know Sean Young herself actually was really pissed off she wasn't in this film. She said, like, oh, boycott this movie because I'm not in it. You know, just boycott it.
Change the record, love. Change your attitude. Grow up, you bitch.
Yeah. But I mean, yeah, I think she said, like, she was really annoyed she wasn't in the new film. She said boycott it. But I mean, as for the story itself, it's interesting, the fact that they find out, you know, they get the bones out, and they find out that, you know, this replicant had a child, and that the child is out there. And I just think that story is really interesting. Like I said, it's a basic story, but it works. You know, you don't need this overly complicated plot. And I think the visuals here are just as good as the first one. I mean, I would have to say, personally, I know Ollie says he prefers the visuals in the second film, but I have to say the visuals in the first film are just better, because a lot of this is CGI. A lot of the visuals here are CGI, and the whole look of this film is based on the first film. Without the first film, you wouldn't have all the visuals in this.
Yeah, no, I mean, Jack, when I said I prefer the second one's visuals, I never meant that in slating the first one. You know, I still appreciate the first one for what it did, and the visuals are amazing, equally amazing for the first one. But
Yeah.
I think just because the way they use colors and lighting in the second one for me is just why I give it a ever so slight edge. But the first one's still amazing.
Yeah, I mean,
I think Alan agrees with me.
Yeah, yes, I do. Yeah, I agree.
I mean, well, for me personally, I prefer the original visuals because
You're on your own.
Yeah, well, not a lot of other people agree with me, so fuck you! Joking.
I don't know if Harry agrees with you or not.
Oh, no, Harry prefers the first Blade Runner, like he said in his review. I mean, for me personally, I prefer the visuals of the first one because without the first film, it's like Alan, when he says Metropolis was the first one to do big city skyscrapers and all that. Without the visuals of the first film, you wouldn't have the second film. And I prefer the visuals of the first one because that's all paintings. That's paintings and models. That's not CGI. That's why I prefer the original in terms of visuals. But I'm not saying the visuals here are bad. The visuals here are still very good. He's still capturing the visuals that film so great, like the colors and stuff like that. And the sort of futuristic city, which I think is great. I mean, I think this film, you know, I also like the other characters. Like I like his hologrammatic girlfriend, which is really interesting. I mean, it's kind of weird. I mean, it's kind of disturbing in some ways that he has a holographic girlfriend. Like he's a bit of a sado.
This is what the world of Tinder has come to.
Yeah, literally, you're gonna fuck your Google Hangouts.
I mean, I know I said I love you, Jack, but not that much.
Buddy, I wasn't talking about you. I was talking about Alan. Joking.
Hold me, Alan. Hold me like you did on our other hangout. I'm joking.
No, yeah, no. Of course we're joking, or are we? No, joking.
Joking. What happens when you go to the George Lucas School of Film? Stop thinking up crappy romance novel bullshit.
Yeah, yeah. He should stay away from 50.
Really cool. Yeah.
He should stay away from 50 Shades of Lightsaber. You know, if you're gonna do Hollywood romance, leave it to the classic films. Like Casablanca, you know, there's another Bogart reference there. No, I mean the film, yeah, it's still visually great. The girlfriend, I think she's great, but I mean it is kind of disturbing. I mean, I think this film, you can definitely tell that things have changed in the years gone by.
What I didn't understand about her was like, did she die? What was that all about? You know, when they attack Deckard and Kay in his house.
Well, she doesn't die technically. The stick that she's on, she destroyed the stick, and because she's a hologram, she's in the disc, in the stick. So that's how she's got rid of.
Sure.
But I mean, yeah, I think you can tell things have changed from the first film. Not much, but well, you can definitely tell technology's evolved. And for me, this film's kind of more disturbing than the first film now because normally you have hologrammatic girlfriends. But I mean, the actress does a good job.
If you had one, that would be an issue.
Yeah. But yeah, I think her name's Joy. That's it, Joy. But yeah, I mean,
Joy to the world.
No, but I mean, all that stuff's interesting, like where he's eating the noodles and she's like making them the holographic stuff, and then he gets her like an emanator or whatever it is, and he puts it in. Yeah, like he gives her the emanator, and she starts like, you know, she can actually go outside and interact with him, and then there's just that kind of creepy bit, like, you know, where like she's like paused, like she's about to kiss him, and it's like, oh, you need to get here. I mean, I think the actors here are really good. I especially think the actress who plays the boss. The actress who plays the boss gives a really good job. Like she's just like.
Hey, Jack, sorry, just one more thing about the holographic girlfriend. The scene when she merges with the other woman is a bit weird as well. That was kind of creepy.
Yeah, that was a bit
weird in a good way.
Yeah, I mean, I watched that. Yeah. I watched that with my mum, and it just felt awkward watching that scene.
Yeah. But can we say something about that scene? Because everybody's talking about that scene as the sex scene in the movie. The fact is we don't actually see them.
Yeah, exactly.
They're preparing to have sex, but we don't actually see them in the bedroom.
Right, which technically, hang on. Technically, doesn't it count as a threesome?
Yeah.
There's three of them. There's just two emerging together.
Yeah, but we didn't actually see them in the bed doing the wild thing, which actually
I mean, is that all they showed us
enough?
Yeah, they weren't doing the dirty in that film. I thank God.
Yeah, so it's not.
Although
really
I will say this film is. I mean, the first film was sexual, but I have to say the sexuality in this is a lot more. Like that scene where they're at that. Well, there's basically these women pressed against glasses, and you hear them going, "Oh, oh," like you can see like the outline of them.
That was a very good impression.
When he comes across the huge pink billboard of Joy.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Who talks to him, and she's naked. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot more sexuality, which I think in this film, it can either be tastefully done or not tastefully done. I mean, some scenes it was kind of like, do we need this? But like, it wasn't a big issue. I mean,
I mean, let's be honest. It wasn't like there was a like full-on racy romp, in the bedroom.
Oh yeah.
It wasn't like they broke the lights or anything like that. There was no.
Deckard gets his Dickard out.
Dickard.
Deckard gets his Deckard out. Deckard gets his Dickard out.
Oh God! But he's already had one child. He didn't think he wanted another at 73.
Yeah. Dickard is double deckering. He just eat the chocolate.
Later on, the double penetration of Dickard.
Oh no! It's like Deckard is like fucking this girl. It's like with a double. He's like eating a double Deckard chocolate bar. No, but getting back to the film.
the non-sexual bits.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think the actress I think the cast here are all great. I mean, Ryan Gosling's great. The actress who plays Joy is great. I think the boss is also really good as well.
Her death scene is really good.
Yeah, and Love, which we'll get to in a minute. I mean, going into this film, I was kind of worried that what my mum would think of it because she's a big fan of the original and she loved it, which was great. I mean, I kind of knew that she would, but I was kind of worried that she wouldn't. But I mean, thankfully she did. And I'm glad. I'm glad most of the people have embraced this. Although people in terms of box office, I guess the critics have embraced it, but it seems the wide general audience hasn't, unfortunately. Which you could predict with this film. But anyway, I think it's good. I mean, it's interesting that he is like I said, it is interesting that they just quite a nice say.
Does it technically count as a mainstream film?
Well, yes, I suppose so because it is a sequel.
Yes and no, I would have thought.
Well, yeah, because it is a sequel, but then again, but I mean, the film itself, I think the boss is really good. Like, there's that great line she says to Kay, like when she says, "Oh, you've been doing fine without one." He's like, "Oh, what? Like a soul?" Which is really good. Ryan Gosling, like I said, he's great in this. It's interesting that that they find out that there's like the child and he has to go after it. And it's like, and I like the sort of conflict he has. Like, "Oh, I've never taken anything out that was born before." He's like,
thankfully they didn't go down the predictable route of thinking, "Oh, Ryan Gosling's the child," which of course he isn't. That would have been
I mean, I mean, they were originally thinking of that, but that would have been cliche. Thank God that didn't happen. I mean, at first I would have accepted it, but I mean, all that stuff's interesting. Like where he has to go out and he has to find who it is. Like we see he goes to this, what was it, orphanage or whatever, and he gets flashbacks to his childhood. And I like that scene, like where they're talking. Like she's, "Oh, tell me a memory." He's like, "Oh, they're all just implants," and he tells her about this wooden horse. And how the boys chased after him and how he hid this wooden horse. And it's interesting as well, like the date that they find on the wooden horse, like 6th of the 10th, 2021. And I just think, like, I mean, the film in terms of narrative structure, I think it's great. But I mean, also I think the villains here are good as well. I mean, I think Jake, sorry, not Jake, what's his name? Jared Leto. Yeah, Jared Leto, yeah. I nearly forgot his name there. I think he's really good as a villain. I mean, I think
Wallace.
Wallace. And it's interesting they have
he's grommet.
It's interesting they have an opening like paragraph prologue before the film, like the first one as well. But I think Wallace is a good villain. I mean, I think I would put a fair Roy. I just think Jared Leto, just to be honest, I mean, he just doesn't. I mean, that's the only complaint I would say this film. Minor complaint is that he just does nothing really, Wallace. I mean,
well, there's the one scene when he kills that woman who comes out of the bag or whatever it is.
Yeah, I mean that I have to say that was in terms of like disturbing content. I thought that was really disturbing, like when they showed all the replicants like in the fluid tanks and all that. And you never saw that in the first one, which was really.
Yeah, can I just say, I was puzzled initially why he killed that poor replicant woman that just came out of the bag. But was it because she wasn't pregnant? He was trying to make a replicant that was pregnant. That's why he killed her?
No, I think because I think it's because he's a psycho. He said like, "Oh, we can't make enough."
I think his plan was to get a lot of them pregnant so he could create some. Yeah, but yeah. I think he just killed her just to basically show that he had no mercy. But
yeah, that was it. Yeah, he said like, "Well, I can't make enough of you." Like,
what a scumbag.
I mean, I mean that scene is quite graphic. And like I remember my mum sort of squirming at that bit. I mean, I saw this film. I've seen this film twice already. I saw it when it first came out on the day of my friend, and it was a pretty empty cinema, which was good. And then the second time I saw it, it was completely packed. Like the whole cinema was packed. But I mean, I think Wallace is great. I mean, it's kind of. I mean, what I'm confused about is he a robot or is he a human? Because like they put that chip in him, and like all of a sudden, like he starts to work or something like that. I don't know.
He's a robot.
Yeah,
I mean his eyes. If you look closely at his eyes, it doesn't look very real.
Yeah, I mean, I'm wondering if he's
he too is a replicant. He too is a replicant. Wallace.
No, I mean not necessarily a replicant, but just some kind of robot.
Could be.
I think either he's a robot or he's a human with like terrible vision, and he's like robotic eye vision. Well,
he's not a Klingon, is he?
Well, I have had enough of you. Yeah. Let them die. Like Shatner was in this movie. But I mean, yeah, I mean, I think Wallace is a good villain, but I just think my minor problem with this film is he just gets nothing to do. I mean, with Roy, I think at least in the first one, at least he got a lot more to do. I mean, at least he confronted Deckard at the end, and he got to kill people, and he got to be in the film more. Here, Wallace is just kind of like he's there for like one scene with this girl, and then he's there for one scene of Harrison Ford, and that's really it. So I think he's really good. He could have just been in it more, but I mean, I think the side villain, the henchwoman, Love, she's great. I mean, she's a total bitch. I mean, love, crazy. Yeah, I mean, who would want to love her? Let's be honest.
Love.
Yeah,
nice. I wouldn't mind, but man, she's a bitch on wheels.
Yeah,
don't mess with Love.
Louvre.
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, yeah, I mean, she's great, and I just think like there's just some really great visuals here. I mean, the only thing I will say, the soundtrack is crap for this. I'm sorry. I mean, the ending song. I mean, the endings, the ending soundtrack. The end.
What? I thought the soundtrack sounded pretty much the same as the first one.
Well, yeah, I know that's my problem with this film. The soundtrack is by Benjamin Fish and Benjamin Wallfish and Hans Zimmer. And apart from the ending soundtrack where they used it from the original, like where Kay is dying, like, they used the do, like, apart from that ending where they reused the song from the original, I just think the soundtrack is just a real wasted opportunity here. I mean, I like Hans Zimmer, but he's overrated as a guy who makes scores. I mean, throughout the film, it's just this like all these horns, like a that he always puts in his films, which just kind of, I mean, when I first watched it, I thought there was something wrong with the screen because like the soundtrack was so loud, the horns were so loud, like it sounded. Yeah, the speakers. Like I thought, like it looked like the cinema screen was shaking or something. It was that loud, the sound. Like it really irritated me the first time I watched it. I mean, the second time I watched it, I think it was better. I think maybe because they turned the sound down.
Turn the music down.
Yeah, I mean, I think the second time they must have turned it down. But I mean, that's the only thing I will say about.
Also, the issue is it sounds like it hasn't been mixed properly.
Yeah,
like in the editing room, they haven't mixed it very well. They just turned it up to 11 and they've left it on like
Like, I mean, Hans Zimmer, you know, I think he's a good music composer, but he doesn't have to put that in every fucking film he does. You know, Inception, there's a like, why do we need that all the fucking time? I just thought, like, if you're gonna do the soundtrack to Blade Runner, just get Vangelis back, because they just use all these tracks from the first film. Like I said, the soundtrack, I just thought it was a wasted opportunity. I mean, this is the
only... They might as well have had Harrison Ford singing the soundtrack.
Yeah. Blade Runner, it's Blade Runner, it's Blade Runner. Like, Blade Runner 2040. Yeah, no, like, can you imagine Harrison Ford singing My Baby, you know, it's 2:45, place, except you and me. I mean, he actually did that on Popcorn with Peter Travers. Like, Peter Travers got him to sing a bit of that song at the end, and Harrison Ford's like, I forgot the rest. Because he didn't want to sing it. Like, he just sang like the first line of that song, Frank Sinatra song. Yeah, but I mean, that's the only problem I have with this film, really. The only two nitpicks, because I love this film, the two nitpicks is the soundtrack and the villain. I just think the soundtrack was just rubbish. I'm sorry. I mean, the songs they reused, like the, you know, the do 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 at the end, you know, when Ryan Gosling's dying is great. But, you know, Hans Zimmer, he's just overrated. He's like Nolan when it comes to scoring films for me anyway. It's just like in every fucking film he does, even Wonder Woman. I mean, I love the soundtrack from Wonder Woman, you know, the do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do. But, you know, in Inception, he had the and like I said, when I was watching it in the cinema, it was really, the first time I was watching it, it was really...
Well, he doesn't do that in Pirates of the Caribbean.
I know, but I mean, Hans Zimmer, you know, just like you don't need to use that all the time.
I think Interstellar was basically the same piano chord in every track.
Yeah, I mean, Hans Zimmer's just way too overused when it comes to scores. I mean, they use him in every Hollywood score, and it's just getting boring now. I mean,
hang on. I mean, I think Michael Giacchino is the one that's getting used most now.
Well, it's still, I'd still say Hans Zimmer. I mean, they used him for Wonder Woman, Man of Steel. I mean, Man of Steel's soundtrack was so forgettable. I mean, it's like, why did you need him to rescore the Superman soundtrack? But again, I'm not saying he's not a bad. Yeah, exactly. They use that again. It's like, why do you need to use that in every fucking score you do? You know. Yeah, and it's the same thing repeated, like the first time. It was so loud, like when Kay's in the car, the flying spinner, you know, it's going like yeah. And like you said, Ollie, they use that in Man of Steel.
Also, like as I said, it's not been mixed properly. It's too loud.
Yeah, it's too loud. And like I said, when I was watching it, it was so loud, like it was actually distracting. I thought it looked like the screen was shaking. It was that loud. It sounded like the speakers were about to burst or something. It was that loud. But yeah, the soundtrack for me is disappointed. But however, I mean, I'm going to wrap up because I've probably gone on too long. I think the film, great visually. I think when you get to see Harrison Ford, like when he finds out, you know, I think there's some great scenes, like when he arrives at that girl's, you know, he arrives to the dream maker. That's really good. And then, you know, he's trying to find out where the memory's real or not. And she says, yes, someone lived this. And like Ryan Gosling's great, like where he's like, God damn it! And, you know, he kicks the chair over and, you know, she's crying or whatever.
His emotional outburst.
Yeah, I mean, that's the first time you really see him explode on screen. And he's brilliant. And then when he comes back and, you know, he tells her that, you know, oh, it's done, it's finished. Like, he's like, oh, he was set up as a regular replicant when he wasn't. And she's like, oh, you did a good job. Now get out of here. That's really great. And then when you see, like, he goes with Joy's like, I'm going to have to lead you from the desktop. And he's like, I can't do it. You know, if anything happens to the stick, you're gone. Because, I mean, that's the thing. I mean, he's even more, I think, emotionally shut off than Harrison Ford because he's in love with a hologram. Well, I suppose you could say the same Harrison Ford for Replicant, but this is even worse because she doesn't even have a physical presence. Yeah, I mean, that scene with the prostitute's quite interesting. She's like, oh, you don't like real girls, do you? And then she walks off. And yeah, that scene where they're about to do it, it's weird, but yeah, I think like Alan said, it's a good weird.
It's basically a threesome.
Yeah, it's weird, but it's a good weird. Strangely enough, I mean, I think the sexuality in this film is fine, but I think sometimes it went a bit overboard, like with the glass. There's basically a prostitute house with see-through glass windows, and you just hear the women like up against it. I mean, it was just a bit awkward to watch anyway.
What is it that you wanted to say?
I don't want to see anything. That's a point. No, but yeah, but that scene where they're just about to do where she syncs up with the prostitute. I mean, it's interesting. I guess she wants to sort of sync up with her, so she'll have a physical presence, so that he'll be more attached to her. That he'll have.
We seem to have developed a certain attachment to each other.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. But I think she basically just wants to be like a real woman for him, which is interesting.
I feel like a woman.
Yeah. But I mean, but then just because I'm trying to close it up here, I think that the finale is really great, like where he finds where Deckard is, and he's like in this place that that's been hidden away for all this time, and he comes in and he plays the piano, and then Deckard's there with his dog, and Harrison Ford, I think he's great here, gives a good performance. I mean, personally, I think he's better than Blade Runner just because he's the main focus of the first film. But he's still good here. I mean, I'd say he's more intense here. He's definitely more angry here than he is in the first film. I mean, the only thing kind of let me down, it was just like a small niggle, is I would have loved to seen him in his like original Blade Runner outfit. He's just wearing a t-shirt and some jeans. It would have been cool to see him in that cool like outfit he wore in the first one. But,
yeah, I agree. I think because, he's been in hiding for what, 30 years? So
yeah.
He wouldn't have really had an extensive wardrobe.
Yeah, exactly. Like just having Harrison Ford in a jeans and a t-shirt, it just didn't look that. I mean, Harrison Ford, you could kind of. I don't mean to be mean, but you could have you kind of saw his belly and a bit of his man tits with that t-shirt, like the outline of his man tits. Anyway,
to be fair though, he's pretty good for his age.
No, he's still pretty physically fit, but I think you could have. It would have been cool to see him in his original outfit and Kay with his outfit. They just look really badass, like with the same outfit.
It's surreal.
Yeah, like the. It would have been cool to see them both in with the same sort of outfit. But I mean, yeah, I just thought his outfit was a bit like, just jeans and a t-shirt. Oh well. But yeah, I mean, I agree with you, Ollie. Like, where would he have got this wardrobe he's been hiding away all this time? I mean, one thing I
hop into M&S.
Yeah.
Bon Marché.
Yeah.
Pick up some new clothes.
Yeah. Blade Runner.
Well, there's a Walmart somewhere around here.
Yeah. I don't know why she saved my coupon.
I don't know why she saved my clothes.
Yeah.
She didn't. That's the truth. I had to get new ones. Imagine the narration for the second film.
Yeah. Why am I not in this movie? When do I get
old?
Yeah. We're still on screen with Ryan Gosling. Get to the point. When am I in it? When am I in it? Boring.
Here's my second paycheck.
Yeah. Yeah. No, but I mean,
going to be in this movie.
Yeah. I mean, I think his performance here is still really good. He's definitely more intense. He's more pissed off. Like when he tries to shoot Ryan Gosling and then the explosion goes off.
I will have to say they had a pretty good fight scene.
Yeah, the fight scene I will say is great. Like when they're listening to Elvis, like a holographic Elvis. I thought that was a nice touch. Like,
That was cool.
A holographic Elvis there, and I felt like their fight scene was great. Like where he gets rid of the gun and Harrison Ford just punches him in the face, and he just punches him in the face again, and it's like a third time. It's like, are we gonna do this all day? I thought that was great. It's like let's get a drink.
They always go for a drink in all these films.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but I think that's another callback to film noir. Like when you watch the Maltese Falcon, Humphrey Bogart's always sipping down whiskey. I mean, the detectives are always drinking their whiskey and smoking their cigarettes. So that's another sort of callback to film noir.
Yeah, I guess it's sort of cliche.
Yeah, but it's a good cliche. I mean, I think what I just love about this movie, actually one thing I didn't understand is how does he get food there? I mean, he's been living there so long. They say like the place was covered in radiation. How is he living? I mean, I don't get it. It's like, That's the one thing I didn't get about the movie. I mean, he's been living in this remote place for years, but apparently it was covered in radiation. How has he not died of radiation sickness? I think they said the radiation died down, but where's he going for his food? Like, where did he get all this? Like, no, I mean, how's he still alive here? Because there's no shops around. Like, does he just go out in his little spinner to the shop every so often? You know, go down to the local, I don't know, Walmart or whatever, and be like, yeah, I'll have it.
That's the only explanation, really. I mean, we saw in that brief scene that he still had his old spinner car, so he can still get out and about if he wants to.
Yeah, but they never really explained that. They never really said
there was a Tesco nearby.
Yeah. I don't think he goes back to that main futuristic city that we see where K works. He goes somewhere else for his first.
I think, yeah, because too many people recognize him.
Yeah.
He goes to Marks and Spencer's.
I guess so.
Yeah, M&S,
he goes
food.
Yeah. That's probably
Asda.
It's Asda Christ.
You can just imagine him slapping his arm.
Next thing, Harrison Ford will be doing the Christmas adverts.
Harrison Ford will be working in. He gets a job. He's working in Wix. Wix. It's got our name on it.
It's got our name on it. Pricks.
Yeah. You can imagine Deckard. Yeah, no, it's fine. You just imagine Deckard working at, like, Alan would have, like, your local Walmart or something like that. Like, that'll be $25.10 change, please. Like,
George Lucas School of Film.
You need to. I told you, sir. You need to put this through the scanner one more time. How many times? Like, I mean, yeah, but that was the only thing they didn't really explain in the movie. I thought, like, how does he get all this? Like, how is he living there when there's all this radiation there? How has he not got radiation sickness? And how is he getting all this food?
I mean,
but that's a minor
Martian where he can grow his own crops out of nothing.
Yeah. Harrison Ford's growing potatoes.
Yeah, either he grows his own food, or he goes somewhere else to get it. He just doesn't go back to that particular futuristic city where everybody would recognize him. He just goes somewhere else.
He goes to
I'm sure he has a few chickens that he probably kills, or some kind of animals. I mean, I don't know if he's eating the dogs, but
chicken, lay a little egg for me.
Yeah, like KFC, finger licking good.
I didn't know you wanted to buy me a KFC for 99p. I wanted you to give me some. Sandra, can I have a bite? Oh no,
Yeah.
No, anyway, no, I mean, I think,
so,
yeah. We just talk about Harrison Ford in fucking shops.
Harrison Ford working in customer service. This is a company announcement. You have 5 minutes till the store closes. Please leave.
All employees come to breeding center.
Okay, you know what would have been funnier? Having Arnie make the announcement. This is a customer announcement. You have 5 minutes till we close. Get out!
Yeah.
Or Humphrey Bogart. Or Humphrey Bogart at the McDonald's, checkout, and like it's like, what's his burger? It's the stuff that it's like, what's his burger made out of? It's the stuff that dreams are made out of.
We did get to see Harrison Ford briefly as a ticket taker in Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, and he throws the guy out of the blimp. No ticket. Yeah.
No ticket. Oh yeah.
No, you could just imagine him saying, "Subway, eat fresh." No, anyway, back to Blade Runner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Guys.
Yeah.
There's still two guys waiting to express an opinion. So.
Yeah, I know, because we were talking about Harrison Ford. I got derailed here. No, I mean, I just think the film has some really nice, like, quiet moments, which you don't get in a modern action movie, unfortunately. What is it now?
I was just thinking about Harrison Ford.
And he's thinking about you. Yeah, anyway, I think Okay, this has got to start. I bet Alan's just like, oh, he just can't take this anymore.
It's a hangout. We hang out. We talk. We joke. We laugh. It's a hangout. What can I say?
Harrison Ford. I hang out with my wang out.
Oh god, Alan just sounds like Harrison Ford right now. He just sounds bored. Like, can we get to the point?
Yeah. Let's wrap.
Why are you guys
wrap up now and let Alan speak?
Yeah. No, yeah, I was just gonna end it there. I mean, the film has quieter moments, and there was one really nice moment, like where you just had that holographic Frank Sinatra, singing that song. It's stop it, Ollie. But you have nicer moments. Fucking stop.
I would like to apologize to our listening audience that this has gone way off subject now. Sorry to any of you.
Alan just sounds like Harrison Ford here. I
can't stop laughing.
Okay. Anyway. Alan just wants to shoot himself right now.
I just say this is the most fun I've had on Hangouts for ages.
Yeah.
Thank you. Oh, fuck! Stop laughing.
Anyway,
sorry. Battle.
Frank Sinatra. Like, I love that bit. It's just a really quiet moment where he puts the coin in the jukebox and it's like, it's 2:45. There's no one in the place except you and me. Like, that's a great scene. And it's just like one of those really. Stop laughing, please.
So, Jack, what would you rate the movie?
Oh god, I need to talk about the finale here.
We haven't got time for that.
Nobody got time for that. I think that scene with Harrison Ford, but Ryan Gosling puts the coin in the jukebox and Frank Sinatra comes on. I think it's a great moment, a moment you don't get in action films now. I think the finale where Harrison Ford's there and they get in the spinner.
It was Harrison Ford.
And they arrive, and then Jake Gyllenhaal's there. I think that's a great. Sorry, not Jake Gyllenhaal. Why keep on Jared Leto? I think that scene is great where you have where you have Rachel, like where he resurrects Rachel, and he's like, "I know it's real," which alludes to the fact that he might be human in this film. But they never. I mean, they were saying in this film, that. Denis Villenueve was going to answer all the questions that were left unanswered in the first one, but he didn't, which I'm glad. I'm really glad he didn't, because it was just ruined. The film of Deckard just turned out to be a human, or it just turned out to be a replicant. And like I said, I believe Deckard is a replicant because, like, Rachel had no expiry date; she just died in childbirth. But I mean, I think the finale. Great where like love catches up with them and then like Joy's killed, like they destroy the joystick and okay.
What are you laughing about, guys? What are you laughing about?
Oh, you know what, Alan, just carry on.
This is about Harrison Ford. That's what all he's laughing at. I don't know why. I'll support fucking Walmart.
Am I ever going to express my thing?
No, you will. I'm sorry. All right, I'll wrap up right now. Give me a minute. I'll wrap up right now. Okay, I think the finale's great when love destroys the joystick, and then when he says goodbye to her, and then you have the finale where the
Oh, Jack, you're a funny man.
You're making me do this.
I don't know what the fuck these two are laughing about. I really don't. I'm sorry you're listening to this shit. I'm really.
Oh god!
I'll keep myself for a bit.
Busted cuts.
I need to calm down. I'm going to mute myself.
I did not see this happening, audience. I'm sorry.
Ollie was laughing about Harrison Ford being in Walmart, and I started laughing, and he stopped.
Apparently, Alan with 0 viewers.
We're like laughing at Harrison Ford.
Oh, fuck's sake.
We're never going to get this highway done.
What would you rate the movie?
Yeah. Okay, the finale I thought was great, like when they're drowning and whatever, and then she comes and she's she's a real bitch. She shoots Ryan Gosling, and then Harrison Ford's drowning, and then she's strangling him, and then when Harrison Ford when he escapes, I just think that finale is great. Like the whole stuff underwater is brilliant. I just think the film is a great sequel. I mean, the only thing I didn't understand is like why didn't he go after Wallace at the end? Like I was thinking like. And then at first I was like, why didn't he go after Wallace to finish this off? Why didn't he go after him? Which was a bit disappointing. But all the minor negative nitpicks aside, like the soundtrack and the villain not being great, I think this is a great sequel. A really fantastic sequel to the first movie. I'm laughing at Blade Runner 2049.
Sorry. I'm really
No.
sorry,
Okay.
listener. I'm really, truly sorry.
No, it's not your fault. Sorry, Alan.
It's all right.
Oh, so I'm gonna close this off.
I will come to America to see Alan and go to Walmart just to see Harrison Ford.
Yeah, Jesus. We're laughing about Harrison Ford. That's what it is, Alan. We're laughing about Harrison Ford at fucking Walmart. He gets the fucking chocolate digestives.
How would you rate the movie, Jack? How would you rate it?
10 chocolate Harrison Ford Walmart digestives out of 10.
Fucking hell.
Okay.
10 Harrison Ford chocolate digestives.
Right, Jack, let's take a minute to calm down and then Alan talk.
We're going to have to mute ourselves. Alan will finally get peace. 10 out of 10 for me, but yeah, but I slightly prefer the original. So, Alan, over to you.
God. Okay. Both your mics are off. Okay.
Alan, you start.
Jesus.
Oh, God. Okay. I can talk now?
Yes. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah. Sorry. I couldn't help it. I'm sorry. I just couldn't.
Okay. All right. I'm gonna. Oh, geez. In light of what has transpired in this, I'm gonna try to keep my comments short and to the point, and not talk as long as I'd like to about it, because I think this hangout has already gone over.
Yeah, it was meant to be short.
I mean, it's only
we just got back. I think we'll be talking about Harrison Ford at Walmart for an hour to hear.
Shut up, Jack. Shut up.
Jack, we can continue this conversation after the hangout.
Okay, I mean, 2 movies. We're only talking about 2 movies, and this is going on and on. Okay. So, Blade Runner 2049, even though it came 35 big years after the first movie. Well, I got to tell you, I'm really sad and really disappointed that this new Blade Runner film is not doing well at the box office, because I think it's a terrific film, and I think it's one of those rare sequels that's actually better than the original.
I agree.
I do like the original Blade Runner, but I think this movie surpasses it in its storytelling, And even though it's long, and I know some people have probably been scared away from seeing the movie because of the length, but I think the proof of a really great movie that just so happens to be long is that, yeah, it's long, but you're not bored for a single second. You're with the movie every step of the way. And not once was I bored. I mean, not at all. I was very invested in this story. The time flew by. I didn't feel the length of this film. I mean, just for one example, if Peter Jackson could do it with the Lord of the Rings trilogy, make not one, not two, but three really long movies, and all three of them are entertaining from the first frame to the last, then it can be done. You can make a long movie, and it won't feel long, and you'll be just as entertained. And even though Blade Runner 2049, or 2049, take your pick, I say 2049, even though it's long, I didn't feel the length of it. And I enjoyed just sitting there and taking in all the whole visual splendor of the film and taking in this really, really fascinating mystery that Agent K, played by Ryan Gosling, goes on. And this movie, takes place 30 years after the events of the original Blade Runner. So now Agent K is the new Blade Runner. And we're told right from the get-go that he is a replicant. So we know right from the start of the film, Agent K is a replicant. They don't try to hide that.
Yeah.
But apparently the replicants have now evolved where now they have replicants that serve on Earth as well as, off planet, and they're programmed to obey and serve. And I guess that's where Agent K comes from. But he goes on this mission. I mean, the movie starts off with him going on the same kind of mission that Harrison Ford's Blade Runner went on 30 years ago, where he has to hunt down a replicant.
Yeah. Although Alan, it's not too similar to the first one, which is what I liked. It wasn't too similar. It was similar, but it had a different kind of, obviously the story, because the story was different. It had a different feeling to it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it harks back to the original Blade Runner, and yet at the same time, it's doing its own thing concurrently. Yeah, I like that very much. And so yes, so you could say that the Blade Runner 2049 kind of tips its hat to the original movie by starting off with a little bit of narration on the screen, just titles on the screen, setting up what's been happening in this world in the 30 years since we last saw the Blade Runner world. And then it starts off with Agent K going on a mission to hunt down a replicant, played by Dave Bautista, who you may know from either Guardians of the Galaxy or even as the silent bad guy from Spectre, the James Bond
wrestling theme.
Yeah. But from there, after he accomplishes his mission in hunting down this first replica, he then gets taken on this case, this mystery involving these remains of someone buried under a tree where the replicant lived, where Dave Bautista's replicant lived, and that sets him off on this mission to eventually hunt down the missing Blade Runner named Deckard, Harrison Ford's character from the first film. And I was very, very fascinated by the whole story. I didn't mind for a single second that the story was slow. I just drank it all in and I enjoyed it. And like I said, I didn't feel the length of this film. I didn't feel the length of it at all.
Exactly. Sorry to interrupt you, Alan. Would you agree with me when I say that the pacing of this movie was better than the first one, despite the fact that it was longer?
I would say arguably, yes. The pacing is better. I mean, the first film didn't bore me either, but I have to admit, I found the story much more intriguing in the second film. And therefore, I was much more invested in the second film, I think, than the first film. Even though the first film looks sensational and it's worth looking at a second time, of course, and I will watch the first Blade Runner again at some point. But I just think Blade Runner 2049, it expands beautifully on what was laid down in the first film. And you have a much richer story, a much richer characters. I mean, the characters are great. The cast of this film is great. The filmmaking, the director's name, some people pronounce it Denis Villeneuve, so I'll pronounce it Villenueve. His direction of this film is superb. I mean, you can tell that he really has great love and respect for that original Blade Runner film, and that he wanted to honor that first Blade Runner movie with this second film. And I think he did. I think he did beautifully. He's a very talented filmmaker. This is by far my favorite film from his. I think the only other movie of his that I've seen is Arrival, which was that sci-fi film from last year with Amy Adams and Jeremy Renner. Visually, it was stunning. Kind of slow for me, but this movie, I was very, very captivated by right from the word go.
He is a very sorry to interrupt you, Alan. He is a very like slow moving storyteller. Like I saw Sicario that he directed last year, and I'm gonna be honest, that was so boring, that movie. But this is a lot different.
Yeah. I mean, it's okay for a film to be a slow burn kind of movie as long as it's an interesting, entertaining slow burn. The Arrival I thought was just barely interesting story-wise. I mean, I thought visually was great. I thought Amy Adams was superb in the film. Jeremy Renner was good. But I don't know, I didn't find the story as engaging as the story here in Blade Runner 2049. I think the story is great, and I appreciated that it took its time in unfolding the mystery as Agent K goes around searching for clues and trying to find Deckard. In the meantime, I enjoyed seeing his interactions with the other characters. I really loved his love story with his holographic girlfriend, Joy, played by Ana de Armas. And I just thought, I found it very fascinating, the whole concept of you don't just have a voice activated Alexa. I mean, you can have a holographic girlfriend who has physical form and talks to you and interacts with you. The only downer is you can't actually touch her, but I mean, she's there and she loves you unconditionally. And to see
Do you think that's a bit disturbing though? Like in it, like that could possibly be a future where like we no longer interact with humans, we interact with like holograms, you know? Do you think that maybe that was like kind of like a
Well, it seems to be already happening. I mean, they now are making robotic sex dolls and I mean, for everything and I
Fuck
know,
yeah, baby.
Yeah, well, let me put it to you this way. Unfortunately, while I think if everybody in this world had somebody special to love, if everybody had a boyfriend or girlfriend or a husband or a wife, this world would be a much happier place. But unfortunately, not everybody dates and mates with the greatest of ease.
Yeah,
So
I'll marry you, Alan.
what?
Sorry, I was just joking. I'll marry you, Alan. No, Harrison Ford.
Oh, well, thank you.
did you pick up the groceries, Harry?
But I'm just saying, seeing Agent K's relationship with his holographic girlfriend. I mean, number one, he's a replicant, so I think for that reason alone, maybe he's not allowed to have a proper girlfriend or
Oh, what, like George Lucas with Star Wars? Oh, Jedi can't fall in love?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, imagine if like they weren't living in the future. All you would have is a sex doll and an inflatable sex doll, like.
Yeah, well, who knows? But anyway, I mean, maybe Agent K, because he's a replicant, he's not allowed to marry or have a proper girlfriend or whatever. So the best he can hope for is a holographic girlfriend, which is kind of like we're looking at a romance between, I guess, what amounts to hardware and software. You know, Agent K's the hardware because he's a replicant. He can move around and he has skin and flesh and he can think and all of that. Whereas his girlfriend is software. You know, she's a computer program, but she's a holographic computer program who looks real and interacts with you very authentically. But again, the drawback is you can't actually touch her. That's
fucker.
But still, to see their romance, I mean, I believed it. I generally believed it, and I thought Ana de Armas was terrific as.
It's a better love story than Twilight.
What's that?
Better love story than Twilight.
Yeah. I never saw the Twilight movies, but I believe you. I believe you that it's much better.
You don't need to see them. Trust me, Alan. Don't see them.
Yeah. No arguments for me there.
I'd rather watch Harrison Ford in love with a grocery bag.
Yeah. Okay, so besides that, we got to move along, guys. We got to move along. again, I really appreciated going back to the whole world of Blade Runner, and again, the art direction, the visual effects, the whole scope, the size of the buildings. Again, seeing all those big holographic advertisements and stuff for like Atari and Coke and all of that. Seeing the holographic ballerina dancer, that big huge ballerina dancer who's advertising something, and eventually we get to see a holographic advertisement for the holographic girlfriend that Kay has when he meets this big huge pink version of his girlfriend who's a holographic.
My metal detector's here.
Yeah. But I mean, all of it is just so terrific to look at. Again, it's a fascinating world to see again, and to see how it is 30 years after the original Blade Runner. I know you guys had a problem with the score, that it was too blaringly loud. I actually liked it loud. I kind of like that. I kind of like that. And I do think.
I mean, at least it wasn't dubstep, like.
Harrison Ford.
Okay. But other than that, than the blaring, other than that, I mean, the musical notes that you actually do hear. I mean, I do think it's a powerful score, and I do think it's very reminiscent of that original score.
Yeah, I think they reused a lot of tracks, like specifically that final track where, and I actually forgot to mention that the second time I saw that when Kay dies, that was so powerful with the soundtrack they reused from the first film. The do like the Vangelis theme. But yes, sorry, Alan.
I mean, yeah, they did reuse certain bits of that original Vangelis score. I mean, I don't see how they couldn't. I mean, just like when you watch Rogue One, you hear little bits of the original John Williams score that Michael Giacchino used for his score, and that's fine. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with sprinkling the score with little bits of the original score that
Yeah, helps keep it in the same universe.
Yeah, it's the same universe, so I didn't mind. So overall, I enjoyed the score very much. I think the whole cast is terrific. Against Ryan Gosling, I'd only seen Ryan Gosling in one other movie, and oddly enough, considering how our hangout has gone today, the only other movie that I've seen about Ryan Gosling is that comedy where he's a lonely guy who falls in love with a sex doll.
That's a big plot for this film.
No, the name of the film is Lars and the Real Girl. I think that's what it's called, Lars and the Real Girl. It was a small film, and yeah, he's this really lonely guy. He can't get a girlfriend, so he buys one of those sex dolls and has a relationship with the sex doll. We don't see him having sex with her. We just see him hanging out and just being a good boyfriend to his.
It sounds like quite a strange film, but
it sounds like, I don't know, Ryan Gosling. It sounds like he likes to do films where he plays a guy just fucking something that isn't real. But I mean,
yeah, okay. So this.
Well, no, actually, hang on. La La Land. He had a relationship with Emma Stone in that movie.
Well, she was real in that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's my point. She was. Yeah. Both of them were very good in La La Land.
Yeah, I've heard lots of great things about La La Land, but I didn't actually see it. I know it.
Actually, Alan, if you want to see another great Ryan Gosling film, check out Drive. That's a great film.
Drive?
Yeah, Drive. Yeah, he's like a heist. He's like a getaway guy in a car, and it's a really good film. It's by Nicholas Winding Refn.
Okay, Drive. All right. I just might do that. But yeah, I really enjoyed Ryan Gosling here as Agent K. I mean, I definitely cared about him, and it didn't matter to me that he was a replicant, because I make an argument that replicants do have souls in a way. I mean, they can think, they can feel, they have emotions. Souls might be, constructed, it might be built, but it's there. I mean, they have emotions, they can feel, and I cared about him as he went on this mission to find Deckard and to solve the mystery. So I thought he was really good. He has a lot of great presence in the story, and very powerful. Harrison Ford shows up late in the film, but when he does finally show up, he's great. And I thought that his character of Deckard has an extra emotional layer to him that wasn't there in the first film. I mean, I thought he was fine in the first film, but I did enjoy him more here in the second film, even if his screen time was smaller. It didn't matter to me.
One thing I will say, I think that was kind of the point in the first film, that he isn't that emotionally layered. Like, that's why it's like an onion that kind of peels off at the end of the film.
Onions have layers.
Yes. Yeah, I suppose. But again, yeah, I thought that they gave his character a little extra dimension here, and also to find out where his relationship with Rachel had gone in the third movie. Very sad to find out what had happened. But anyway, we get the big revelation, because we are in spoilers. We mentioned that at the top of this that he and Rachel had a child together, and that, of course, the whole possibility that replicants are actually capable of producing children. Very, very fascinating. And that gives this whole story and the whole world of Blade Runner an extra layer that, again, you can argue wasn't in the first film. It gives us something extra about the replicants that we didn't know about in the first film. It also sets up a potential powerful third Blade Runner film, although I don't know if they're ever going to do the third Blade Runner.
Yeah, apparently Villenueve said if it does well enough, they would do. They're probably going to do a sequel, but I don't think it will. And to be honest, I don't really care anyway. Like, I mean, to make a really good sequel to Blade Runner, that's hard. But to make a third film, that would be even harder. I think.
If there's a trilogy, I don't think it's necessary. There's not much more you can add to the story.
Yeah, exactly. Like, that film ends with him finding his daughter and Kay's dead. So
like, what would
I'm happy with two films.
Have the child become a Blade Runner? Like, what? Like, there's nothing else you could do, really.
That would be interesting, actually, if the child did turn into a Blade Runner. That'd be an interesting idea for the third film.
But I mean, even if we never get to see a third Blade Runner movie, I mean, I think we're in agreement that Blade Runner 2049, it definitely ends on this ray of hope with Deckard finding his daughter. Because I think we agree. We all, well, I don't know if you guys felt this way, but I think a lot of people, not that a lot of people saw the movie, but a lot of people who did see Blade Runner 2049, I think we assumed that Deckard was going to die at the end. Yeah. So the fact that he doesn't, that he lives. And thanks to Kay's...
And it's actually Kay who dies in the end, which is sad.
Right. It's very sad.
Even sad. I feel even sadder for Kay, because he thought that Harrison Ford was his dad, and it turned out it wasn't. So I feel sadder for him in a lot of ways, because he was the one. Yeah. Yeah,
and he'd been through so much, to solve this mystery and to help Deckard. Yeah. I mean, I felt sad when he died at the end.
The fact that they say that his daughter is like a memory builder, that could have also been like an allusion to the whole thing of him dreaming about unicorns, and he obviously may have passed that on to her, and she is obviously now able to create these weird illusions. So I thought that was quite clever.
Right.
Could you imagine? Could you imagine, like, Kay goes to see Harrison Ford and says, "Oh, like, Deckard, oh, you're my father," and then Wallace appears and says, "No, I am your father."
God.
Like, it would make sense. It's just a joke. It would make sense since he's a replicant.
Yeah. I suppose. But
it's
anyway,
a joke anyway.
Anyway, the way they handled the ending, I thought was really beautiful. And although I was sad to see Agent K go, I thought his demise was handled very beautifully, where he just slowly lies down on the steps and it's snowing on him. And I think he died content, knowing that he accomplished the mission and that he helped Deckard find his daughter. So it was sad, but I thought it was handled beautifully.
He was
the final shot where Deckard sees his daughter for the first time through the glass, and I think you can see Harrison Ford beginning to tear up a little bit when the screen goes black and the movie ends. So I think the movie definitely ends on a little hope.
Did you notice that it ends as way the same film did, that the original just cuts to black? Like, new. Yeah. I think that was a nice reference. Yeah.
Yeah. But my point being that even if there is no third Blade Runner movie, I mean, this second movie ends on a really nice ray of hope, and that there may indeed be a future for the replicants, that they won't have to hide forever.
Remember the replicant rebellion or whatever? Like, I think maybe. Yeah.
Right, but like I said, we're given that ray of hope. So even if we don't ever get to see it in a third film, there is hope there for the replicants. The fact that Deckard, sees his daughter, and that replicants can produce children. So there is hope there at the end of the film. And if that's the final image we get in this world of Blade Runner, it's not a bad final image to have at all. I'd be open to a third movie, of course, but if they never make one, then this is a good final image to have. And let's see, just to continue, I think everybody else in the cast is great. Sylvia Hoeks is a total bitch on wheels as the replicant Love. She's very, very powerful. I loved her final fight with Kay and Deckard in the end, and I'm glad that Kay finally drowned the bitch. I wanted to see her die. Like, yes, drown her, get her. I wanted to see her get it because the fact is, earlier on, I mean,
she'll never go to Walmart again.
Oh, God.
She kills Kay's boss, played by Robin Wright. Kills her in the office. She kills that other guy who works on their team earlier on. I mean, she's a bitch. So I
really,
wanted to see her
I wanted to see her die too, like where she like smashes the glass of Kay's boss, like crushes it into her hands, like
die, bitch, die.
That bit where she shoots down Ryan Gosling and she's like, "Do your fucking job."
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. So I mean, I wanted to see her get it at the end, so I'm glad she did. Yeah, drown the bitch, drown her, Kay, drown her, fucking drown her.
I think that climax in the well, the what do you call it?
Spinner.
Yeah, sorry, Spinner was done very well.
Yeah, the spinner chase. Yeah, the spinner chase was great. Yeah, that final action scene in the water with Kay.
Yeah, awesome.
Great. But Sylvia Hoeks I thought was terrific as Love. She is pretty damn scary in this movie, I have to admit. Pretty, but scary as shit at the same time. So she was really good. Robin Wright.
You could say that she was like the Fiona Volpe of this film.
Definitely, I would definitely say that. Yes, yeah, that's a good comparison with Xenia Onatopp from GoldenEye. That'd be another good comparison. But yeah, she.
Harrison Ford strangled by her thighs.
Yeah, really.
You think you can break me?
Yeah, Robin Wright I thought was terrific as So this is now the second movie where Robin Wright dies. She died in Wonder Woman. She dies again in Blade Runner 2049.
Why do people hate her so much?
Yeah. But she's a really good actress.
Oh, was she a Dr. Death in Wonder Woman?
She was Diana's aunt. Her aunt who trained her.
Oh, right. All right. Yeah, I didn't know that, actually.
Yeah, Diana's aunt who trained her. Yeah,
she dies in that first battle scene.
Yeah. She takes a bullet for Diana very valiantly and dies on the beach.
I mean, Sean Bean. Talking about people dying in films all the time. Sean Bean dies in every film.
Yeah, the world just hates Sean Bean. Sean Bean should have played Diana's aunt.
Yeah.
Steve Buscemi dies in everything as well.
Except Monsters Inc.
Yeah.
Let's see. I guess I'll also make mention of Jared Leto as Wallace, although he's a very bizarre character.
Jeez, Gromit.
Some people have said that they don't like Jared Leto in this movie, that he's a little too weird, but I found him to be a fascinating character for the screen time that he has.
Peculiar.
I'm still pissed off that he killed that poor replicant woman who had just been born, and then he kills her. What a jerk.
Yeah, he cut. Oh, it's so disgusting as well. He cuts her just above her vagina, like her ovaries, I think. Oh, God.
Oh God.
Yeah, that is a bit grim.
Yeah, that is pretty grim. But I still found him to be a fascinating character, nonetheless, for the screen time that he has. Let's see. The whole look of the film is sensational. We have to mention cinematographer on this movie was Roger Deakins, the same cinematographer.
Win an Oscar, for God's sake! Give him the Oscar.
Give him the Oscar. This is the same guy. This is the same guy who did cinematography on Skyfall, and he did
Shawshank Redemption as well. Jesus.
Yeah. He's a fantastic cinematographer. He still hasn't won an Oscar, so God.
25 years after Shawshank, and then Skyfall, and then Spectre. Just fucking give it to him already.
No. He didn't do Spectre. Somebody else did.
Oh right.
Did
right. Okay.
It was called Hoytman Hoytmar. But he did very good for that. But.
Okay, but yeah, I mean, his cinematography on Skyfall was fantastic, and he did terrible.
Yeah.
But yeah, by all means, give him the Oscar for cinematography on this film, because the film looks sensational. The way it's photographed, all the colors.
As you say, Alan. Sorry to interrupt. Fuck the Academy.
Yeah. I mean, I stopped watching the Oscar shows years ago, but still, you know, I want Roger Deakins to get his well-deserved Oscar, so I hope they give it for cinematography on this film.
And Andy Serkis as well, best actor.
It's a beautifully photographed movie. Again, the scope of it, the colors, it's pretty amazing to look at. Blade Runner 2049. So please give it to Roger Deakins. I already mentioned that I enjoyed the score.
What did you think of Rachel coming back?
Oh yes,
Like
I like that very much. I like that very much. It looked very believable. It looked very, very believable that it was a young Sean Young. It was, in fact.
Well, at least you were in the film in some capacity, Sean Young.
Yeah, it was another actress, and they CGI'd Sean Young's face over her. I also read a magazine.
Take that, biatch.
Sorry.
Take that, biatch.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that was a. I lost my train of thought now. Yeah, the way they bring back the young Sean Young again, that was fabulous. I think they said that visual tech took like a year or something to perfect.
Oh, geez.
Maybe I'm wrong. It took a long time. It took a long time to perfect that.
It seems like since Rogue One, the CGI for like making people younger or like resurrecting people is just just improved leaps and bounds.
In the words of Gandalf the Grey, you haven't aged a day.
Yeah. I mean, it looks exactly like the young Sean Young. I mean,
as she was in the first one.
That's right. So
actually, they're going to do the same thing with Robert De Niro and Al Pacino in The Irishman, which comes out in a couple of years. They're going to have them in that film, but CGI them to make them look younger. So, and apparently they're going to get the same guys who did the effects for Star Wars. So, I wonder how that's going to turn out, because that's going to be the whole film of CGI performance. Well, no, they're going to be there, but just made them look younger. Yeah,
they have motion captured dots on their faces.
Yeah. We'll see how it goes. But what they did here to bring back the young Sean Young as Rachel was very, very impressive. I mean, it looked so real. It looked like Sean Young herself, when in fact it was another actress. But it looked great. I'll also make mention of the so-called sex scene with Kay and the girl and his holographic girlfriend. It's not really a sex scene. We don't actually see them having sex.
Alan, did it turn you on?
No, but I was fascinated by the visual effects where his
you were fascinated by Joey's visual effects.
I was fascinated by how she's trying to sync up with the replicant girl and try to be as physical as she can possibly be for Agent K before they head into the bedroom. I thought that was
a threesome.
But the thing is, everybody's referring to it as the sex scene from the movie. We don't.
Her digits are very real.
Yeah, we don't actually see them having sex. It's just the prelude to them having sex. But that's fine. I'm glad that we didn't actually see Ryan Gosling in bed with the replicant girl and his holographic girlfriend. I'm glad they didn't show that. They can leave that to our imaginations.
Holographic vagina.
Yeah. They showed enough. Enough.
Yeah.
I thought the visual effect of his holographic girlfriend syncing with the replicant girl was really good. That was really cool. Apparently that was another visual effect that took a long time to perfect. And
Alan, what did you think of the nudity? Some of it that was in it, like the naked purple hair girl, like the Joy or whatever. Like, did that turn you on?
I liked it. I mean, she's a beautiful woman. There's no denying she's beautiful. But I mean,
you like damn graphics.
Yes, the graphics were good. Yes, yeah. But I mean, I didn't mind. Some people complain about the nudity in this movie, but I didn't mind it. I just think it's just a part of this universe, that Blade Runner is in. And again, when we see her as the holographic advertisement for Joy, where she's totally naked, the pink Joy. I mean, it made sense. I mean,
you could like take your line and it's like you see her naked breasts, whatever, in CGI. Great visual effects.
Yeah, great visual effects. Yes.
I mean, George Lucas is just in heaven.
Yeah. So anyway, to wrap this up, because Ollie hasn't had his turn yet to talk about the movie, I'm just going to say, I think Blade Runner 2049 is a fantastic film. It's one of those rare sequels that's better than the original, in my opinion. Okay, so I know some people like Jack prefer the original, and that's fine. I'm not going to criticize you for liking the first film over the second. But in my opinion, I enjoyed the second film even more. I just found it to be a richer story. It's a great a great hark back to the original film, very respectful of the original film, and yet it still does its own thing. I didn't find the movie boring at all, which I think is a testament to how great this movie is.
And considering it's longer as well, that's
that it's longer, but I wasn't bored at all. I was very invested in it, and it was very entertaining to go back to the world of Blade Runner again and see where it is, 30 years after the original movie. If they make a third Blade Runner movie, that's great. I'm open to it. If they don't make a third Blade Runner movie, then I think this movie ends just right. It ends just the way it should.
Sorry, mind if I ask? In comparison to the first one, the box office, is this weaker or better?
Yes, it is weaker.
Weaker than the first.
Yeah.
I think it's really, really disheartening to see the film not doing well because, again, this is a terrific film, but people want, they want slam bang action. They want boom, 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 boom. And this movie is definitely a slow burn movie. It takes its time. It does have action in it, but it's not, action packed from the.
Yeah, I think Ollie was kind of fooled by the trailer. Like you said, it looks like there's more action. I think people have been fooled by the trailer because
no, Jack, you told me.
I know. I told you that. That's what I was saying. Like I was saying the first time around, you probably thought there was going to be more action. I'm glad that you went in there not expecting loads of action because I think you were probably being disappointed. I mean, yeah. Do you think that's the sad thing about movies now, Alan? That I think it's a sad thing nowadays that all movies have to be slam bam, thank you ma'am kind of thing, like just action. they just like action. Like it seems really the last decade where you had slow burning movies that were great was like the 70s. It seems like after the 70s, like after like Star Wars and like it just became all action films in the 80s, like loads of action films in the 80s and 90s. And it seems like the 70s was like the real last great decade for like filmmakers to make great art that was slow but like had a point.
Right. I mean, for me, the new movie definitely reminds me of 2001: A Space Odyssey. How that's a slow burn sci-fi film, but it's great. It's a masterpiece.
Yeah, guys, the film is being made on 150 million, and it's grossed 164.5 million. So it's just about made its budget back, really.
What, Blade Runner?
Yeah,
the new one. Yeah. But it's a terrific film, and for people who are staying away from it, I say they're really missing out.
They're idiots. Yeah.
But something we have to remember. This is important to bring up. The original Blade Runner wasn't a hit at all on its initial release. It was only over time that word of mouth spread about the film, and the original Blade Runner became the big sci-fi classic that it is now, or at least it's a big cult sci-fi classic. But I think what's turning people away. First of all, it's just like its predecessor. The new movie is rated R, so kids can't come in and see it freely. This is not a movie for kids. I don't think any parent in their right mind should take a child to see it.
Well, Jack went to see it.
Yeah, it's not. It's a great film, but it's not a movie for kids. Definitely not. And I think it just goes to show that although that original Blade Runner movie is indeed a landmark in sci-fi films. Even I will admit that it's a landmark. Again, it's not sci-fi for everybody, like say Star Wars.
Ollie, I didn't even know you were of age.
What?
I was just joking with Ollie. Sorry. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, it's just that Blade Runner, it's not really a franchise thing. It doesn't have universal appeal like, say, Star Wars does. Okay, so...
No, yeah. I think, they're trying to make it a franchise. But
let's be honest. Star Wars is Star Wars at the box office compared to Blade Runner.
Yeah. Some people have even said Blade Runner is strictly for sci-fi nerds, so to speak, quote unquote.
Well, I wouldn't go that far. If you like noir films, I think you would like this film. But I can see what they mean. Like,
I think it's more for just for film.
I think this is more for people who. Yeah, I think this is more for people who actually like to think when they watch a film, not like go and watch a Fast and the Furious shit.
Exactly. It's an acquired taste, I suppose, but it's a brilliant acquired taste, I think. The first film is very good. My opinion of it may grow stronger over time, but I really think that the sequel, Blade Runner 2049, is a terrific film. If it doesn't score at the box office, I hope the Academy at least will give it some love. It definitely deserves some Oscars, maybe even a Best Picture nomination. I do think the film is that good. Again, the rare sequel that's even better than the original, in my opinion. I just love it, and I think it's a terrific film, and I'm looking forward to buying this on DVD to put it alongside the first film on my DVD shelf, and I can have a Blade Runner double feature. It's a great film. It deserves to be more successful than it is. It really does. I hope it'll do well over time, and maybe over time be regarded as the classic that the first film.
And then hopefully, and then they might make a third one in about the next 35 years.
God, no, please! I don't want to wait another nearly 4 decades. I mean, Alan. Yeah. I mean, Alan might not even be alive by that time. God bless him.
Yeah. That sounds morbid.
Yeah. If we get a third film, hopefully we don't have to wait that long. But anyway, I really love Blade Runner 2049. I love this film a lot. Maybe just the slow pacing of it works against it a little bit.
So, really what else I think is turning people away from it is the fact that it's long as well.
Yeah, it's like nearly 3 hours.
Nearly 3 hours long.
Yeah.
But again, I say to people, it's a wonderful film. You won't feel the running time of the film because you're so.
Alan, just engage your brain. They should just engage their brain and stop like watching Fast and Furious and Triple X and all these like.
If there is a brain to engage.
That's right. So anyway, just to wrap it up, I really love this film. I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10. Blade Runner 2049.
Yeah. So Ollie, what's your thoughts on Walmart Runner 2049?
Oh God! Please don't set me off again. I'll never finish.
No, we got to wrap this up. Come on.
I'll keep it brief. I'm with Alan on this one again. I was very surprised by this movie. I went into it thinking that I wasn't really going to like it because I didn't really think much of the first one. But this one really took me by surprise. I really enjoyed it. I have to say I had some issues. Like the first 30 minutes I found did really take its time. And I thought, oh, come on, where is this going? Like, this has got to pick up. And it did. And by the end of the movie, the third act resolved the story very well. And it really cleverly tied itself to the first one. And actually, like Alan, I think the story is richer. And actually, I thought the characters were much more compelling this time. I thought it was a big, major improvement over the first one. And I loved it. I mean, it's similar to the first one in the sense of the style of the story, like the noir sense, and then obviously Ryan Gosling's character doing the same kind of thing as Harrison Ford's character in the first one, trying to find these replicants. Although in this one, he's not going out to kill anyone. He's just going to find this child and, stop Wallace. Yeah, maybe Wallace could have had a bit more to do. I didn't really like the scene when he killed that newborn replicant. That was a bit disgusting. I mean, Jared Leto, I think does a okay, fine job, but you don't really get to see much of him. I think he should have been involved in the final fight as well, because he's just kind of there. Really, he doesn't do much. But the look of the movie's great. It looks stunning. I think it looks ever so slightly better than the first one, just because of the way that Villenueve experiment and Roger Deakins experiment with color and lighting and just the futuristic dystopia of the movie. It looks superb, and I really like the sort of the world in which they live in. I think it's really good, and it's not as weird as it was last time. So, I mean, that being said, it is weird. The sort of sex scene, I guess you could say, is interesting. I guess you could technically call it a threesome, but it's a bit hard to describe. I thought it was clever. I mean, the visual effects obviously were great, and I mean, Ryan Gosling was fantastic in the movie. His performance was superb, and I loved the journey of his character. And by the end, he really feels at peace. It was like he's done the mission. He can rest knowing that he doesn't need his family anymore. He doesn't
need Walmart.
Yeah. No. What? He can go. Like, I'm going to ignore that. he can rest at peace and finally join his family. So that was nice. And the whole story regarding Rick Decker, I thought was really interesting. The fact that he and Rachel had a daughter, and she was the one that was the memory builder. I thought that was cool. And although the child didn't do much in the actual story, it was nice that they tied it in. And the ending is beautiful when he goes into the research center and he looks at her through the glass and really smiles. And like Alan said, it looks like he's about to tear up. And I think that's a great ending. And it could be the perfect ending for the series. If they don't make another one, they've ended it on a really good note. I mean, despite the fact that the movie's long, I thought that the pacing was actually stronger. And I thought it was.
I mean, that's surprising coming from the fact that it's a longer film.
Yeah. I mean, I was.
I'd say the pace is just the exact same. Like, I think there were parts of it for me that kind of plodded along, like all that stuff, like where he thinks he's the the way he thinks Harrison Ford's son, but he's not. Like, I think that stuff kind of dragged a bit for me, but that's not a nitpick. I love both. I give this 10 as well.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I think there's a little bit more action in this one than the first, but that's not saying an awful lot. The opening fight is really cool in the farm, the farmhouse with
that's a scene from the first film that they cut out. Yeah,
that was good. But after that, the movie just kind of just plods along for the next half an hour. Maybe they could have done this movie in 2 hours. They probably didn't need to have it 2 hours 43, but
yeah, I think you said that in your review.
Yeah, it was a little. I think it was maybe just a bit too long. I think they could have cut it down a bit, but I thought it was fine. I actually thought it was more engaging than the first one, so I can't complain too much. And the way they brought back Rachel into the story was interesting as well. And I thought it was really, really good. I mean, the music could have been a bit quieter, but it was definitely reminiscent of the first one. I thought, okay, this is nice. And Robin Wright was very particularly memorable. And the scene when she died, I thought was directed really well. When her throat was slit, and the fact that we cut to a wide shot from the window and we don't hear any sound.
Yeah.
That was intense. I thought that was really good.
It kind of like, this may sound weird, but it kind of like this film it reminds me of like that old school style of filmmaking, like the 70s, like a slow burn film. But like when you have that cut and there's silence, it's kind of like, it reminded me a bit of The Godfather Part 2, like where it just cut to Michael and you hear nothing, and then it's like a gunshot after that, like where you just cut to the window. Like, it was like he was trying to reference. It was like he was going back to that old style of filmmaking of the 70s, and like, a slower film and like more artistic, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, and you're right. And I think Villenueve definitely was trying to reminisce that. And it's I thought it was so well done, and his direction throughout this movie is great. I kind of like the fact that we have to wait a long time for Rick Decker to appear, because it's not really. I mean, I enjoyed seeing where the story was going. After it got to a certain point and when it got to the flashbacks, I thought, okay, now it's starting to become a bit more interesting, because then we're seeing, we're trying to learn more. But then obviously when at the end we find out the flashback is not actually. Person in the flashback is not actually Ryan Gosling; it's actually the child who had to be given up, which was interesting. So the story ties together really well. I think the storytelling is way better in this movie. Honestly, I do. I think
fair enough.
Yeah, Villenueve tells a very good, very rich story.
Would you say you appreciated it, the first one, a bit more after watching this? Like maybe, like do you think after watching this film you would want to go back to see the first one again, like just to see if your opinion changed on that? Or
yeah. I mean, as I said earlier, I was going to go back and watch the movie again anyway. I haven't seen this one a second time yet. I will try and see it a second time.
I don't know if you can, because like I think it's probably going to be out of cinemas soon because it's just failing. But yeah,
it might come out. It might be out in the cinema soon. But I'll definitely buy it because. Again, I want to watch the first one again, and I think it has made me appreciate the first one a bit more.
Yeah.
Again, I've only seen seen the first one once. I've seen both of them once, so you know. But I thought it was very well done, and the CGI was excellent, and all of the practical stuff was excellent. One thing I didn't get: why was he putting his hand inside the thing and then the bees were going over his hand?
Yeah, I didn't understand that. And how did that not sting him? Like,
yeah, like what was he trying to do? Like,
yeah, he was just trying to get their honey.
yeah, Alan.
Oh no, that explains it then. Harrison Ford. I didn't pick that up in the movie. Like, that's how he gets his food. Then he has bees. Like he must be in a honey diet. Then he's like a bear or something. He's a bear in his cave. Harrison Ford's like a grizzly bear in his cave.
Maybe, yeah. Maybe he's Baloo the bear. You know, look for the bear necessity.
Well, maybe he just goes to Walmart.
Oh God! Again. 3 for 2 offers. Little coupon vouchers. You spend £12, you get 1 item free.
Buy one, get none free.
Oh God. Anyway, so the ending's great, and it all comes to a head. The action when it's there is well done, and I enjoyed the slow pace of it. I thought, okay, I was more intrigued, and seeing it on the big screen definitely made a difference. Had I seen it on TV, on a smaller screen, I may not have appreciated it as much.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing I will say about the original Blade Runner as well. I think you need to see that on the big screen, because when I recently saw that on the big screen, I was amazed by that. But yeah, yeah.
I mean, now that I've bought a bigger TV, hopefully, when I watch the first one again, I'll be able to appreciate it a lot more.
Soak it in.
Yes. But I won't say too much more about it because a lot has been said by you and Alan. So I will simply close.
And about Harrison Ford.
Oh yeah, sorry, Harrison Ford. Harrison Ford is good in the movie. As I said, he's not in the movie very much, but I didn't mind that, and I liked what they did with his character, how Rick has changed in the past 30 years, and it was great to see how his journey kind of comes together when he meets his daughter at the end. So that was great. So overall, I really liked the movie. I think it was very, very good. Very surprising. It took me by surprise. It was long. I thought, yes, it's been a long ride, but I never thought I got less than my money's worth. I mean, it's just disappointing that audiences aren't tuning into it, which is a shame. But I'm hoping there'll be a similar reaction to the first one, that it will. Well, I mean, I have seen a few of my friends who've seen it have really, really liked it. But general audiences don't seem to be engaging with it.
I think it'll be rediscovered again. Hopefully. Yeah.
In about, hopefully in about 5 or 10 years.
I mean, sorry to interject. I just wish we could return to this style of filmmaking, because I actually prefer slower films. Like when I started getting into films, older films, the slower pace used to really irritate me. But now I'm used to the slower pace, and I prefer slower pace movies. Because there's not action in your face all the time.
Yeah, the thing is, a film can be slow, as long, and it can work that way as long as it's
intriguing. That's intriguing,
entertaining, and engaging.
Yeah.
If you have a slow film where nothing's happening, then
that's just garbage. Then.
Yeah, I mean, we saw War for the Planet of the Apes. That is a slow movie, but I didn't find it slow.
That's the thing I loved about War and Blade Runner stuff. It's like they're going back to the classic films of the 1930s and 40s and the 70s and 60s and all that. They're trying to go to that classic filmmaking of the 30s and 40s and the 70s, and it seems like we've lost that now, where it's just
I think when people saw those two movies, they thought, oh, what the hell is this? So they were misled by, obviously, War for the Planet of the Apes had a misleading title, which is, kind of part of it. It's a shame, really.
Well, I suppose it's a shame of battle. That had a misleading title.
Yeah. But Blade Runner 2049, I mean, nobody would really have gone to see it unless they'd seen the first one. I don't know. I don't know if many people were gripped by the trailer.
I think the trailer was intriguing. It's just the fact that I think also we forgot to mention the fact that it is a sequel, so you need to see the first one.
Yeah, you got to see the first one, otherwise it won't make sense. But I think also this movie didn't have particularly great marketing. I mean, it had all right marketing, but it wasn't nobody was. It wasn't getting like rave.
Yeah, I
publicity.
only saw the trailer once online. It wasn't in my face all the time like a lot of other films, you know.
Yeah, but anyway, I will rate the movie a very strong 9 out of 10.
Oh, and by the way, Ollie, just to because I know we're going to have to wrap up now, but I just want to share this. It's a reference to Blade Runner. Blade Runner.
If it's about Walmart, I don't want to know.
No, it's not Walmart. No, it's about Blade. It's God, stop it. It's about.
I've calmed down now.
Yeah, it's about Blade Runner and the Emoji Movie. Say that this is probably what Harrison Ford would say to Rachel if he saw her. This is a reference to the Emoji Movie, if you remember, like what was it? Jean's parents.
Oh yeah.
Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but soon for the rest of your life.
What about us?
We'll always have parents. We didn't have these.
We'll always have Paris. God, it's probably what he'd say to Rachel and called the Emoji Movie. You'd have to rip off that film. God.
Rachel. We'll always have Paris. We'll always have Walmart.
Oh God. Seems like Alan's buggered off anyways.
Yeah, Alan's, I think he's had enough of us.
Don't hate me, Alan, please.
Sorry, Alan. Anyway, we will close off now at long last. So thank you guys all for watching and listening. I'm Ollie, this is Alan, this is Jack, and see ya.